36, 9, 32, 30, 41, and now match 6. The numbers are 38, 49, 22, 41, 11, 16. Thanks for playing the Pennsylvania Lottery. Benefits older Pennsylvania.
Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. We have so much to talk to you about today. This is a live streaming interactive chat, by the way. So if you've got a question about something, a comment, you want me to touch base on a story that maybe I haven't talked about just yet, all you have to do is hit us up in one of our social media platforms and we'll be able to either shout you out or, answer your request. So we're taking a live look at a couple of different things. First and foremost, Congress is back in session. This is a big deal, you guys. As you know, right now we are still in a partial government shutdown. Don't get it twisted just because we haven't been showing you Congress. That is because they have been on a 2-week vacation. But as of today, the Senate and the House of Republicans, you're seeing the House of Republicans right there, they are back in session and hopefully making some important decisions. We'll be talking about the latest on the Department of Homeland Security funding, where that's at, what could happen to your travel in just a little bit. We're also taking a look, as you can see, a train has gone off the racks. The rails. This took place in North Bergen. Actually, we hear from the mayor that they are still trying to make sure that everybody's okay in the situation. So far, we're not hearing anything about any injuries, which is perfect in this situation. We're hoping that we get some more information on this for you guys. And of course, I will be able to share more of what the mayor said in just a little while. Then last but not least, got some great news for you. We're taking a live look at Xfinity Mobile Arena because the Flyers are back on the ice tonight. Last night was absolutely crazy. If you were watching with us and streaming with us, you got to see us in real time break down the moment that the Flyers clinched the playoffs. It was magic. We got to hear from Marcus Beasley from the sports team. He literally called the plays as it was all happening. And then we found out again that for the first time since, 2018, really since 2020 that we at least were in the room, but since 2018 that we will be making our way to the playoffs. So really big deal. And of course, the Phillies are also playing tonight. So we'll be touching base on those scores in just a little bit. But let's talk about that train. I told you just a little bit of the information that we had, but again, out in North Bergen, this part of the New Jersey area, a CSX freight train derailed. This is Tonnelle Avenue. This all happened around 3:15 p.m. But as you can imagine, it is not at all easy to get a train off the tracks. So they are still very much so out there trying to get this all in order. We're hearing that total 13 rail cars went off the tracks. There also may have been a spill in the area. So we know the police station, fire department, hazmat teams, and even some EMS crews rushed to the scene to assess the situation. Again, luckily we're hearing no injuries so far, but of course their investigation is not over. We're also hearing from the mayor that this is no longer a threat to the public. It's just a mess, a nuisance, an eyesore that you can see. Chopper from Fox New York flew over. I also want to let you know that we got a statement from the mayor on Facebook. We can pull it up. This is Mayor Nick Sacco. It's from North Bergen. He says, we are actively responding to a freight train derailment near 2501 Tonnelle Avenue. At this time, there are no reported injuries and no confirmed danger to the public. As a precaution, Route 3 remains closed in both directions near Tonnelle Avenue. I want to thank our North Bergen Police Department, Fire Department, EMS, and our partners in Jersey City Hazmat for their swift and coordinated response. We will continue to monitor the situation closely and provide updates. So that's what's going on in New Jersey. I know we got a couple of viewers who always want to know what's going on over there, so I'm making sure that I'm bringing you the latest. But for our viewers from the Pennsylvania area, I want to bring you closer to home. I heard there was a string of robberies, actually violent robberies. One of our reporters, Shawnette Wilson, rushed out to the scene to get some more information on it for you guys, just to make sure that that area would be safe for you all. Shawnette, what are you learning about this situation?
So police have released pictures, Judea, of a suspect in these strong arm robberies that have happened in Center City. Two of them so far happened on one day. It was Thursday of last week, which was April 9th, I believe. And we do have some video of both locations. So the first one that police told us about happened at the 7-Eleven at 12th and Chestnut. I did go inside. They did not want to discuss this, but what police are telling us is that the suspect went into the store, stole a bunch of items, and as the guy was trying to leave, police say one of the employees tried to stop him, approached him, and they say that the suspect then punched this employee in the head and then kept going, like took his fist, punched the employee in the head, and took off. So that happened at the 7-Eleven, like I said, at 12th and Chestnut. They happen within a half hour apart, I believe, like one at 6:30, the other one at 7 o'clock, which brings us to the next location, which is 16th and Walnut, where police say that the same suspect, they believe, approached a person walking on the street, tried to take their cell phone, was successful at doing that, and then when the victim went to chase him, they got into some sort of a fight. Police say the suspect then punched that victim in the head as well and kept going. They say another person walking by picked up the victim's cell phone, which apparently the suspect had dropped, and returned it to the victim. So strong arm robberies, yes, the victims were both assaulted. I talked to some people walking by the 16th and Walnut intersection earlier today, asked them if this was concerning to them. Here's what they had to say.
Yes, it does. It does, yes.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Because it's violence, and they robbing people. That's not right. We're supposed to come down here to have a nice time.
Judea, you heard me mention that these strong arm robberies happened on a Thursday evening, 6:30, 7 o'clock, around that time, which the city, Thursday the new Friday, to bring back an old saying, is pretty crowded, so for someone to do something like that on the street, is pretty brazen. But the people at 7-Eleven, as I mentioned, did not want to talk, so they're obviously, shaken up by what happened. But for that to happen to someone walking on the street is concerning. Center City is an area where you very rarely find an empty street, especially at that time of day, during the week as well. A lot of people still getting off from work. The weather is up and down, but getting nicer, and people are just out and about around that time like they are right now. So police, again, hoping that someone can help them identify the suspect so they can bring this person in and stop this from happening again.
Honestly, Shawnette, the most nerve-wracking part about this is knowing that that person is still out there, that this person is bold enough, allegedly, but, because of the reports that we're getting, but bold enough to harm people in order to get whatever it is that they want. We had a viewer say Center City was nice once, and I mean, Center City is still nice. You just got to keep your head on a swivel like you would have to do in any city. There are so many questions that are swirling around in my head to ask you. I mean, for one, as you're out there, I see the foot traffic behind you. I see so many people. Do you get the sense that people are on edge, or does it kind of seem like people are going about their regular daily business?
I would say that people who I talk to, have said that it's definitely concerning, but that, they're aware that there are bad elements out here. It's just what it is. Like you said, unfortunately, no matter where you are. Now, you may want to point out that Center City, has a larger population of people hanging around at any given moment. So maybe that increases, the opportunity. But I don't think that it's makes people, from people I talk to, not want to come down here. Most of them are just saying things like, oh, I won't hang out late. But then you look at this, and 6:30, 7 o'clock isn't really late, especially the time of year we're in, where, we still have daylight right now. So I think most people who I've spoken to just feel like you have to be more aware, when you're out walking around. But people are certainly out having a good time. And as we see the weather changing more and more and consistently changing, we're going to see even more people out than this, So you just really have to keep a watchful eye. So far, 2 incidents have happened at the hands, police say, of this person. Hopefully that is it, especially as the picture starts to circulate. People who see him will hopefully give police a call and let them know.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, can we throw up that picture just one more time? I want to give our viewers one more opportunity. guys, if you recognize who this person is, you know anything about them, please contact the police. I want to feel safe on the streets. I know you all want to as well. So whatever we can do to help this investigation, let's go ahead and do that. Shawnette, thank you for bringing us the latest and bringing us all that information. We'll be seeing her again at 10 o'clock for more if you guys are interested in getting a little bit more on that. All right, want to turn things on over to Kathy Orr, our meteorologist. Kathy, oh, the people have been loving the weather. We see this beautiful skyline that we've got here. It is a gorgeous day in the city of Philadelphia. I feel like I'm saying that so much more often these days. Tell us about the week ahead and what we can expect for the rest of April.
Well, the great part about this, Judea, was that there was not much humidity today. So it was 88 degrees, but without the humidity, it just doesn't feel like a typical summer day. And that's what's going to happen the next couple of days. We'll have back-to-back 90-degree days, and it's going to feel really warm, but not as bad as it would if it was July or August because of the humidity, and tomorrow the lack thereof. So take a look at our high temperatures. We should be around 64 degrees, but we are at 88 in Philadelphia. We tied a record of 87 in Wilmington, Reading 87, Atlantic City a new record of 88, the old record 86, and that record is at the airport. Trenton 84, Allentown 84. So pretty much everyone in the 80s. Temperatures right now still in the 80s. Doylestown 85, 85 in Hamilton. Down the shore cooler because the ocean is only at 50 degrees and we have that sea breeze. Tomorrow morning, we're talking about temperatures that will start in the 60s. By mid-morning, we're in the 70s, and by 11 a.m., it is 80 degrees. So you know where we're going with this. Temperatures soaring into the 90s, not just touching 90, but beyond. And those afternoon temperatures, obviously, well in the 80s as well before they reach their peak. Here are the numbers to beat tomorrow. Philadelphia's record 88, Atlantic City 86. That's the Marinas Airport, not the airport number. Wilmington, this is the most notable. The record in Wilmington is 86. It was set back in 1896. I had to check that 3 times. That is an extremely long-standing record. The records have been kept in Philadelphia since 1872, I believe. So this wasn't that long after that. Allentown's record 86, the record in Trenton 87, Reading 86, and those were all set back in a very warm spring of 1994. We're going to challenge 2 records in Philadelphia for tomorrow. We're forecasting 92, Thursday forecasting 93, so it should be no problem breaking those records. Overnight lows in the 60s. This is some 20 degrees warmer than average, which is no shock. And as we continue to go through this evening, we're looking at some thunderstorms. This is a severe thunderstorm well through west central Pennsylvania. We're keeping an eye on that, but the rest of the storms that are a little bit closer, heading toward York, PA, and even toward the Poconos, these are not severe. So we're keeping an eye on a storm right here. This is going through the Poconos, and as you can see, it looks like some downpours and some thunderstorms. The other item of interest would be these storms, and they look more like they're heading toward 95 in Maryland. Some of this may make it into Chester County and perhaps into Newcastle County, Delaware, and of course a severe threat is over here. This is near Bedford, PA, which is well to the west, and that seems to be sinking southward toward Hagerstown, Maryland. So the real severe weather through New York State heading south toward the Catskills, but even upstate New York, Syracuse, Utica, under that severe thunderstorm watch, and we'll keep an eye on that. But for our part, we're just really talking about a chance of a passing shower or rumble of thunder as we go into the evening hours. We're under a marginal threat, and the main threat would be damaging winds. As we go through the week, here it is. I mean, these warming temperatures that are really significant through the 90s, but definitely not staying there. As we look at the highs the past 7 days, it hasn't been too impressive. Last Friday was 72, then the 60s, Monday 80, and of course today 87 degrees. So as we look at those temperatures, we're looking at numbers that, we haven't seen in quite some time. The last time we were in the 90s, that takes us all the way back to last September. That's the last time we saw a 90-degree temperature. So let's take a look at that 7-day forecast for you so you can get an idea of what we have going on here. So for the next 3 days, we're looking at temperatures that are going to go up big time. 92 tomorrow, 93 for Thursday, 80, still pleasant for your Friday. And then Saturday changes. It's 78, transitions Sunday from rain to cooler temperatures Monday, and then morning temperatures next Tuesday in the 30s. Judea, that means don't get too excited with planting those annual flowers over the next couple of days, because there could very well likely be a frost in some areas by Tuesday morning.
What a whiplash. This has been a crazy forecast. So, I mean, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for that reminder for tax day. Yes, that is coming up tomorrow. You guys mark that on your calendars. Hopefully you already put it in there. But also, Kathy, I'm just thinking about how my heart sank a little bit during our meeting when you told us there was that chance for storms. I did not bring an umbrella today.
Oh, yeah. Well, you'll be okay. I think by the time you leave, we should know what's going on and you should be in the clear.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you
get
for
a personal
giving us
forecast, by the way.
I love it. This is what happens when you have a meteorologist for a friend.
That's right.
Kathy, I appreciate you weighing in on our forecast. We'll check in with you a little later on through our show, so you'll be able to see her again in that beautiful pink. You look great, girl.
So do you. We matched today.
You. And I'm glad for now the weather is doing pretty well, because as you know, the Phillies are playing. I want to see if we can get you guys a live look out at the ballpark there. Whew. And let me tell you about this score. Hold on to your hats. It is 3-0. Phillies are up, and that is because Edmundo Sosa dropped a big one, a 3-run home run. Huge deal. Everybody on social media went crazy. I'm looking at X. We, Introb Cole on X, said Edmundo Sosa scrapes the sky. A 3-run blast that traveled 442 feet, 3-0 Phillies. All right, so now all we got to do is hold on to that, because I'm looking and it's like we're at the top of third. Got a couple more innings to go, and I'm hoping that we can hold on to this positioning. We'll check base with our sports team in just a little while. And as you all know, the Flyers game just began. So right now we're not seeing anybody up on the scoreboard just yet. Hopefully in the next couple of minutes that could change. They are definitely still in period 1. That game started at 7 on the dot, and right now we're looking at 7:17. With that being said, you guys don't go anywhere. We have so much more news to get you. For example, we're going to be talking to a Fox News reporter. We all know how much gas has gone up over the last couple of weeks, but do you realize that now how much you pay for your packages could potentially rise too? We'll be touching base with Amy Gallo on that in just a little bit. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, and from Philly, we're taking you guys out live to Atlanta, my old stomping grounds, because we got a story to bring you from there. So you all know how the conflict in the Middle East, especially with Iran, has been impacting our gas prices. Sometimes it affects us when we're trying to go out and travel. Well, we're also hearing that that is affecting shipping costs. And somebody's got to eat that cost, so it could be trickling down. Let's check in with Amy, who's live for us from Atlanta for Fox News. You caught up with someone out in Florida, I hear, who's feeling the impact of these higher prices. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I caught up with a Florida florist. His name is Danny Sexton. Now, Danny told me he usually tries to remain optimistic, see things on the brighter side, as he does work at a flower shop after all. But lately, that has been difficult because his operating costs are through the roof right now. And he's not just worried about turning a profit, he's worried about what this could do to small businesses as a whole. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular gas is now $4.12. It was below $3 a gallon before the Iran conflict began. Diesel has also surged to $5.65 a gallon, and now major shipping companies are responding by raising their own rates. The U.S. Postal Service announced its first ever fuel surcharge with an 8% increase that applies to packages but not mail starting April 26th. Meanwhile, Amazon, UPS, and FedEx also announced fuel surcharges. Amazon will charge third-party sellers beginning April 17th, while UPS and FedEx surcharges for ground deliveries will vary from week to week depending on average diesel prices. FedEx is also charging about 27% for air deliveries. So it really is a 1-2 punch of higher gas and delivery costs that's challenging small businesses, especially Danny Sexton's flower shop in Kissimmee Florist, because not only does he rely on shipped materials, but he's in the delivery business too. His 56-year-old family-owned shop gets most of its flowers internationally, and Sexton says many of those suppliers are also hiking their prices now. Meanwhile, costs for things like paint, ribbons, and containers are only going up because those companies use major shippers, and that's not even factoring in Sexton's personal delivery costs.
On an average month, because not all the vans run every day, and some short trips, long trips, whatever the case may be, $600-700. Now we're about $1,000-1,200.
And while big box stores and large shipping companies can increase their prices without fear of losing customers, that's not the same for local businesses.
You can't raise your prices 25% overnight. Your customers will leave. They'll never come back. So what you see small business doing, and I don't care whether it's me, the bakery down the street, the little restaurant over there, most of us are doing incremental increases and eating the rest of it. Let's go up 5% and then see where we are.
Sexton told me he is most worried about small businesses that are just starting out and working to build their clientele. He hopes that people will turn to small businesses or local shops instead of those big box stores during this time. Judea?
Amy, I got a couple of questions for you. I'm thinking back to when we first got those tariffs. Even some of my favorite restaurants, they did what he was talking about there, raising their prices on the menu just a little bit by little bit by little bit until they were finally made whole again. Did Danny give any sense of how long he would be able to eat those costs before it would start to really impact him and his business?
Yeah, he told me that he's worried. I think it's gotten to the point now, the way he described it was, we were all feeling it at first as just regular people, right? Danny also has a car that he drives around, so he was feeling it like the rest of us and kind of waiting to see when that was going to trickle down and start affecting the shipping companies that in turn affect these small businesses that rely on shipped goods. So now he's sitting here thinking, okay, how much longer can this go on before I have got to change maybe which routes I take, right? Danny operates out of the Orlando area, based in Kissimmee, that's in Florida. So usually he's got to, let's say his circle's about this big of a radius of where he's going to travel. He might have to start bringing that down some for major holidays and those sorts of things. So he's not quite sure what's going to happen yet, but he is still optimistic. So I guess we've all got to wait and see.
It is great to hear that he's optimistic. There's probably the silver lining in this, and hopefully some of those other business owners are feeling that same sense of hope that their loyal customers can help them get through a period like this. I heard you mention that surcharge would be starting April 26th, which is really right around the corner. From the people that you talk to, does it kind of sound like they are dreading this date coming, or because they know it's coming and they're able to get themselves ready, maybe they, feel a little stronger about it?
I think it's hard to get ready for something when you're already struggling with the first part of it, right? You've got these high fuel costs, and now this is just another layer. But they are prepared in the sense of, like Danny said in the interview, he's already starting to see some of these costs go up for some of the international places where he's getting the flowers, places like Ecuador, South America is where he gets the bulk of them. So they've already started to bring up what's called box prices. So he's already seen that change. Now with FedEx, it's kind of, again, that wait and see. Okay, what is this 26% charge really going to look like? How is it really going to affect that business in particular? So yeah, it's tough. I don't think anybody's feeling too good about it, but kind of just, waiting and seeing. How's it going to affect us?
Okay. Thank you for giving us a better look at this. I'm looking at our comment section on TikTok, and someone said, hey, isn't that ATL? That's not Philly, because we do stream Philadelphia Live. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is not just an issue for Atlanta. It is not just an issue for Florida, where you got to meet that florist. This is something that could affect all of us. So just take what Amy is telling us and apply it to wherever it is that you are streaming from with us. Amy, I appreciate you giving us this kind of a sense of what's coming ahead and letting us know to look out for April 26th, because if we do see those prices going up on our end, now you know why. All right, you guys, and the other thing I want to address, someone in our comment section said, what were the fuel prices 2 years ago, asking for a friend? Well, I can pull up AAA. The national average today is $4.11, as Amy mentioned. A year ago, the regular gas price was $3.18. So let's put that in perspective. $3.18 versus $4.11. We are almost about $1 up. And then let's talk about diesel. Current average in the nation is $5.65. A year ago, it was only $3.57. So, yeah, just putting that in perspective for you all. I know you asked specifically about 2 years ago. I can trace the prices back 1 year through AAA. All right, so with that being said, someone said they just paid $4.19 at Wawa. What state are you located in, if you don't mind telling us? There's so much more news that we have to get through, you guys, but I do want to remind you that, as you can see, this is an interactive conversation. You are part of the news here on Philadelphia Live. So if you have a question, you want to weigh in, you got a comment, you can do it in real time. We'll be reading those comments live. I see Nitty Cakes 123 is back on here. Love when you join us that everything is so expensive now with a sad face. Ain't that the truth? But we're going to make it through. All right, with that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and then I want to check in with our sports team. As you know, the Phillies are playing. We also know the Flyers are playing. We'll be checking in on those scores when we come back. welcome back to Philadelphia Live. You guys, I'm Judea Murray. Before we get into sports, I want to address this real quick. We were just talking about gas prices and the average prices across the nation. So today we are seeing $4.11 for regular gas. A year ago, we were seeing $3.18. And then someone asked, well, what about 2 years ago? Well, 2 years ago, we were seeing on average about $3.30 per gallon in 2024. So again, we are still seeing it astronomically high right now. So that is the latest on that. And the number that I just gave you comes from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. All right, so now let's check in with our sports teams. The Flyers are playing tonight. Even though we already clinched the playoffs, I know it is still a very big deal. Fans flocked to the stadium. You're taking a live look out there at an Xfinity Mobile Arena. Let's check in with our sports team. Scott, oh my goodness. Everybody has been riding the Flyers wave. We saw so much orange today. Talk to me a little bit about the game that we are expecting ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of things here that you can kind of unpack with this game. As you mentioned, they already clinched, so there's a lot of players that got the night off, including goaltender Dan Vladar, and rightfully so after what he did last night. But what you're seeing then is some younger players playing tonight. That's good experience for them. It's a great opportunity. Some of the younger players that have been playing, like Matvei Michkov and Porter Martone, they combined on a goal earlier tonight. So it's 1-0 right now, Flyers. But the other side of it is it's kind of like a party down there for the fans. They were all coming down, and on the Fantastic Sports Show, our Breland Moore was out there talking to some of them and starting to ask them about the first-round series with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And there's no love lost with those Penguins here. Flyers fans don't like the Penguins. The Flyers don't like the Penguins. Penguins don't like the Flyers. It's going to be a great series. And on that team is Sidney Crosby, who's potentially playing his last season. So the Flyers have a chance to possibly knock him out and end his career potentially. And he has said in the past that he does not like the Flyers. And when we asked a lot of the fans down there going into the game about the Penguins series, without even mentioning Sidney Crosby, they talked about how much they don't like him. So I think there's a lot going in that as we get through this game and look ahead to that first-round playoff series with the Penguins, that it's going to be a lot of fun.
Dang, that sounds pretty rough, but it also does sound fun. Thanks for sharing that a little bit. Now, of course, we're talking about the Flyers, but we're also looking at the Phillies. They started out strong with that 3-run home run. Have you been paying attention to that game as well? I know you've got your eyes on the Flyers.
Yeah, no, the Phillies as well. I was just looking at that game back there. So you mentioned the 3-run home run. It was Edmundo Sosa who hit that. He's playing third base for Alec Boehm, who's been struggling lately. So, it's interesting that, him getting that start, he cashed in with a big 3-run homer, gave Aaron Nola a 3-0 lead. The problem is that Nola's given up 2 runs now in the third, so a lot of that lead has been evaporating away. And at last check, it was 3-2 Phillies in the third inning. There you see Citizens Bank Park, so a good crowd out there tonight as well as they're taking on the Cubs. They need to roll a couple of wins in a row. They got a big win last night, 13-7, a lot of hits all over the place. We'll see how the rest of this game plays out, but the Phillies do need to try to get some sort of a winning streak going. They're 500 right now, so they're 8-8. They need to really get on north of that 500 mark if they're going to start pushing later in the year to try to win the division again.
Hold on, Scott, I got some great news for you while you're telling me about the Phillies score. I saw the Flyers just scored again, so it's now 2-0.
They've been this is the thing you got to love. They've been so hot. There you see it. Yeah, you're right. 2-0 Flyers. They've been so hot. They've won 10 of their last 14 games. What they've done in this last month plus, has been near historic levels in the NHL. They are the hottest team in the league, depending on what metric you look at. And they're a team that nobody wants to play in the playoffs right now. And I can guarantee you the Penguins are not happy that they're going to play them. But that's great to see, 2-0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm hoping to see that score go up even more as this live stream goes on. I have a feeling they're probably riding a high right now. They see all the fans in the arena, and they know they have to go harder than ever before. All right, 76ers, want to put that on the plate. For some reason, it seems like now everybody's getting so excited. What's that about?
So everybody looks at this and knows that if they win tomorrow, they're going to play the Boston Celtics. If they don't win tomorrow, they'll still have a chance to get in, and they would have to play the Detroit Pistons, the 1 and 2 seeds in the East. When you look at it on paper, it's kind of a lopsided matchup, especially because the Sixers don't have Joel Embiid. Now, would he potentially be able to come back in that first-round series? I would say highly unlikely. Remember, he had an emergency appendectomy in Houston almost a week ago. So he's still got to recover from that and then get back into playing shape before he can get on the court. So people look at that and say, okay, this group of guys without Joel Embiid probably can't match up with them. Well, I just say first things first. They got to win tomorrow. If they win tomorrow, then they automatically become the 7th seed. They're in. They'll play Boston in a 7-game series. Let's see what happens. But they've got to win tomorrow first. And if they don't win tomorrow, they'll host another game on Friday against the winner of the 9 and 10 seeds. Those two teams are playing tonight, actually. So that is another thing we can kind of keep our eye on. But you don't even want to really have that matter, because you'd like to see the Sixers win tomorrow. And the big thing here is rookie VJ Edgecombe on the Sixers obviously has never played in the playoffs. So you'd love to get through this play-in tournament so that he can get some playoff experience. You just love seeing Tyrese Maxey do his thing. You never know. And maybe they would be able to surprise somebody. But they've got to get through the play-in first. And their best path to do that is to win tomorrow night. So Xfinity Mobile Arena, big times down there yesterday and today for the Flyers. Tomorrow night, it's the Sixers' turn to turn that place upside down.
Okay. And I understand they're playing Orlando Magic. How are you seeing that team? Do you think we can really stand a chance? Like, be honest.
Yeah, no, I think the Sixers can definitely win this game. In fact, I kind of expect them to win this game, but sometimes you never know with this team. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that game. It's a very winnable game. It's a game the Sixers should be able to match up with the Magic pretty well, and they have it on their home floor. So you'd like to think all the ingredients are there for this team to win that game and get moved on. They wouldn't play until Sunday, so it'd give them several days of rest to gear up for the Boston Celtics. But they've got to win tomorrow. We'll see what happens in that game. 7:30 tomorrow night, Sixers Magic.
All right, 7:30 tomorrow night for the Sixers. We are keeping our eyes on the Phillies and the Flyers, doing pretty well. Both teams so far are up. We'll be checking in with you and maybe even Marcus a little later on throughout our show. So thank you for giving us a look at what's going on in the sports world right now.
You got it.
And you guys, today was a very busy day for sports. As you may know, ex-Michigan coach Sherrone Moore, he had gotten probation for this confrontation that he had with a woman who disclosed an affair that they were having. This all happening today. He was in court. You're taking a look at him walking in with his attorney. I want to let you guys listen in after that court hearing that they had today where he was supposed to learn his sentence. They actually spoke to the media outdoors. I want to let you listen in to what they had to say.
Case in court with dignity and respect for all involved. The resolution reflects the evidence and the law. This outcome is not the result of favoritism or public profile. Legal process, a thorough investigation, and advocacy grounded in the facts. Sherrone is grateful for this matter to be resolved, and he and his wife Kelly are ready to move forward with their family and focus on the next chapter. Thank you, and I'm happy to take a few questions related to sentencing.
Was this sentence deferred?
Yes, probation deferred sentence, meaning at the end of the successful probationary period, the charges are dismissed.
Did it ever come out why the detective didn't share that they worked together?
That was never adjudicated because of the disposition that we reached.
Can we hear from you, Sherrone?
Not at this time.
No. What did you think of the sentence today?
I think it was a fair sentence. I think the judge did an excellent job. I think the prosecutor's office was fair in how they handled this case once it was charged. And as the judge stated so eloquently from the bench, that this outcome was a result of deep digging into the facts, dismissing the charges that weren't supported by the facts and the law, coming to an outcome that, as some people like to say, that nobody is happy with. But here we are, and this chapter is closed, and everybody can move forward. Thank you.
The judge seemed to indicate. Can you clarify what the judge was saying about the call logs and how that impacted the sentencing?
Yes. So, as the judge was stating, the original statement to the police was at 6 a.m. on the Monday morning before the incident, on the Wednesday, that there were a statement made that at that 6 a.m. phone call, Paige Shiver told Sharon Moore that she had nothing more to say to him. That was the basis of this belief by the police at that time that there should be no contact from that point forward. There were two things that we need to remember. One, that they had an ongoing working relationship where she was the executive assistant to Mr. Moore, and that information was not given to the magistrate. That alone would have deterred stalking charges because these phone calls were made during business hours for business purposes. But number two, the phone logs, to answer the question directly, indicated that after that alleged directive, there were many calls between the two parties, calls initiated by Paige Shiver, where they talked for periods of time, calls answered by Paige Shiver, initiated by Sharon Moore, where they talked for periods of time. Moreover, in a follow-up interview with Paige Shiver, she retracted that statement and then said that, well, it wasn't until late Tuesday that I said, I can't do this anymore, which is a very different statement from, I have nothing more to say to you. So the underlying directive that initially gave pause with regards to unwanted contact showed not to have occurred. There was no unwanted contact. There was no stalking, and because there was no stalking, there was no home invasion with the intent to stalk. And based on the statements by the complainant herself, those charges could not be supported.
So based on where you are today, the judge seemed to acknowledge in his estimation the prosecutor's office handled this appropriately based on what they knew when they knew it. Are you feeling charges should have never been brought here, or do you, from where you sit today, how do you feel about it even being brought forward?
I'm a defense attorney. I have my own thoughts on that, which I'm not going to share at this time.
What about the fact that the judge noted what went into that decision was Mrs. Moore's support?
I think that's human. I think that part of what makes Judge Simpson such a revered jurist is that he sees people as people. He recognizes that what happens in a court of law is not removed from human behavior and from emotion and from relationship. And I think him recognizing Kelly Moore's behavior and groundedness and kindness and willingness to open her heart, I think that shows it's important. It's all part of the process. We're human beings, and this happened because we're human beings, and that needs to be a factor. And that's why judges say every person is judged individually. And that's one of the beauties of our justice system, is that people are judged individually. And in this case, Sharon Moore was judged by his past history of living a solid life and by doing good things, and that this was an isolated incident, and the punishment given by Judge Simpson today is a reflection of all those things, as it should be. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, so now if you are just now joining us, let's go over some of the nuts and bolts of what happened there. So they're referring to this case against the ex-Michigan football coach, Coach Moore. Again, they say that he was involved in some sort of affair with someone who worked under him. Now, it wasn't just this relationship that was the concerning factor because of that dynamic between the two of them, somebody in power, somebody being quote unquote subordinate. It was also questionable because they say that after being accused of this affair and being fired, they say Coach Moore then went to that woman's home, and they say he showed up threatening to kill himself with knives, with scissors in her kitchen. And so they say that she feared for her own life and was scared of, his mental state at that point. So he was initially charged with felony home invasion, stalking, and illegal entry. Now, the judge in this case said that he did not think that jail time was warranted, but he did say that all bets are off. That's a direct quote. All bets are off if former Coach Moore violates the probation. So I believe we're looking at think it was 18 months of probation for him. So that's the latest there on that football coach. Wanted to make sure that we were up to date on that. And then still with our sports headlines, I want to bring up a post from Instagram, because if you couldn't love Christina Cook anymore, she just gave you another reason to do it. All right, she just posted this. It says, "Going to the moon may have been my Super Bowl, but I sure loved watching yours." And in parentheses, she says, "I watched Eagles games on Earth too. My husband introduced me to this team and city, gritty, hardworking, and embodying the underdog mentality. Now I'm all in. As a surprise for him, I flew confetti from Super Bowl LAX around the moon. Go Birds." All right, how special is that? Just to hear, I think last week, a week and a half ago, that she would watch Phillies games, Eagles games in the space station out there in space. And now she's telling us that she took some of the Super Bowl confetti. She wanted to feel like a winner when she was up there in outer space and took it to fly around the moon. City of Philadelphia, stand up. You guys are doing something right. If we've got a NASA astronaut also wanted to take part and show you guys some love. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what's going on with the latest with Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, and then of course your gas prices. We'll touch base in just a second. right, welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. I want to talk to you about the latest that's going on with Iran and, of course, the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. did announce that they will be having a blockade, so all ships trying to go through into the Strait of Hormuz, they say you will not be able to do so. So here are the top headlines regarding that storyline. First and foremost, the Treasury says that the U.S. would not be renewing Iranian oil sanctions waiver. The Treasury Department says that the short-term authorization permitting the sale of Iranian oil already stranded at sea is set to expire in a few days, and it would not be renewed. They said this in a post on X. The administration allowed for the delivery and the sale of Iranian crude oil already in transport before March 20th. That authorization lasts through April 19th, so we only have a couple of days left on that. Also, there is an Israeli strike in Gaza that has killed more than 6 more Palestinians. This is according to health officials. It was an Israeli drone strike on a group of people out in Gaza City and has brought the total number of Palestinians that have been killed on Tuesday up to 11. The Israeli military said it had struck Hamas militants in the area, and there was a separate Israeli strike earlier on that killed 2 children, including a 3-year-old and 3 adults. An official at the hospital told us that information. And last but not least, Lebanon is praising some of the first talks that they've had with Israel in decades as constructive. This is while the U.S. and Iran are still having some problems with their ceasefire deal. So Lebanon's top envoy to the U.S. says that the first high-level diplomatic engagement between her country and Israel was, and I quote, constructive. But she did urge an end to the ongoing conflict between Israel and the Iran-backed Hezbollah militants that has displaced thousands of Lebanese people. Now, after participating in Tuesday's talks with Marco Rubio and Israel's ambassador to the U.S., we heard that this envoy said that she underscored the need to preserve our territorial integrity and state sovereignty during the 2-hour-long conversation. She also said that she called for a ceasefire and the return of any displaced people to their homes in their home countries. That's the latest that we have there on what's going on with Iran, but I want to check in on the gas prices. We talked to one of our reporters from Fox News about this a little earlier, but I just wanted to make sure if you missed that, we have the latest. So first of all, we're seeing high gas prices according to AAA. I believe the national average is now $4.11. But the president has admitted that gas prices could remain high through the November elections. He said this in an interview with Fox News on Sunday. He said that those gas prices could remain high, elevated, before the midterm elections in November. So I want to pose a question to you all. I mean, could you see yourself paying these prices that much longer? We're in April, so is that May, June, July, August, September, October, 7 more months of high prices. Do you guys think that you could do it? And then would that impact how you vote in that upcoming election? I'm not asking about Democrat or Republican, just would that be something that you wanted to hear a candidate talk about before you were willing to put your vote there? So that's the latest there on that. I wanted to make sure that we were all up to date with what's going on with gas and the plan. As we've heard from the president most recently, that he felt this conflict with Iran would be over before we knew it. And that these gas prices were just temporary, but now hearing that we could be seeing them for more than seven months or more may be a little alarming. I just want to know how you guys feel. Okay, someone said calm down. Someone said no. Someone said wow. And we also have a hand raised. So remember, I just asked, would that affect how you vote in the upcoming election? Sounds like a couple of you guys are a little nervous about that. So don't shoot the messenger. That's just the information that I have to give you. All right, I want to touch base on a couple of different things that are happening around. Normally I post a video to social media where I ask you all a question about how you feel about a certain topic, because I want you to weigh in. I didn't put that video up today, but we're still going to talk about it. So, doing what I do best. I was scrolling on Instagram and I came across this page of a guy who posts memes and a lot of artwork. And he says that Duolingo, he's accused Duolingo of stealing his artwork. And so really what happened there, Duolingo posted a meme that kind of mirrors exactly what it is that he has been talking about for quite some time. Some of the artwork that he puts out on a regular basis. And he was very upset, and he posted it to his followers, just trying to see how other people would respond. Now he has 444,000 followers, so a lot of people weighed in very quickly, including Duolingo. They actually publicly apologized. They took that post down, and then they DM'd him, he says, to offer him maybe a chance to work together in the future. So my question for you, first of all, what you think? Did Duolingo do the right thing? They realized that they posted something that was stolen, took it down, apologized, and offered, I guess, a better way to move forward by working together. But is that enough? What do you guys think? I want to bring in Jake Leonard from our digital team. Step down real quick and move on over for him. Yeah, I'm a little short, Jake. Now everybody knows my secret. Okay, so that was my question for the people. Again, I didn't get to post that video, but I wonder if people have already been weighing in.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to think that Duolingo did the right thing. Okay. They messed up, but they did take responsibility. Granted, some people are saying, did they do enough? Did they not do enough? I don't know, but kind of going off that, I made a Go Vote. If you can find it, fox29.com/Go Vote under the Fox Local tab. And I asked, do big brands have an ethical duty to credit small artists? And 100% of people say yes. So it seems like the general sentiment on this specific case and in general is yes. A big brand like Duolingo should be giving credit to smaller artists when they're getting inspiration.
Yeah. I mean, it all makes sense. First of all, this was a very eloquent way to pose that question. I really like that. But that's exactly, oh, wait, we just got another vote.
Oh, wow.
Like literally, real time. Okay, so someone is saying no, they don't have that ethical duty. And I wonder, if you don't mind, if you are watching with us right now, could you weigh in on why you say no? I guess maybe they're thinking exposure, but if you don't credit them, you don't at them, how will anybody know that you did it?
Exactly. And again, this is like a situation, varies case by case, you know, how big the brand is. Maybe there's some sort of partnership, you know, because there's a lot of cases where sometimes smaller artists may like sell the rights to kind of go behind the scenes. But it doesn't sound like that happened in this case.
No, not at all. This person just came on Instagram one day and saw a post that they posted on March 9th be reposted today, just in Duolingo's art style.
Right. That's... Yeah, I feel like that's not right. And we were talking about this earlier, you know, with the rise of AI and everything.
Yes.
Things like this seem to be happening more and more, you know?
Yeah, actually, do you guys remember, I might just chronically be online, but there was this young woman, she's an influencer, and she was scrolling and then sees this girl literally post the same exact picture. I mean, it was her body. It was just someone else's face. And the girl says that she has a team that recreated that photo with AI. And so she didn't know that it was, you know, an actual person. She actually asked if the girl would take down her post. I don't know if she took down her own, but yeah, she asked the girl who complained to take down her post.
Yeah.
But it is something that we are seeing in the age of AI.
100%. More and more things like that are happening.
Yeah.
So.
You guys, we'll be checking in with you all throughout the night. I'm glad to see that so many people are weighing in already, and then that person weighed in real time. They said, no, I need to make my voice heard. Please do. And of course, Jake, also later on, I want to talk to you about some of the trending topics. So keep that in mind. You guys out there watching with us, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. We got another live report for you all. So if you are based in Pennsylvania, this may interest you. For those of you who may be in other areas, there may be something happening around you quite similar. So I'm hearing that there may be some changes that could be made to a medical center that you guys are pretty familiar with. I want to know what the future of that holds. So let's check in with Jen Lee, who's been reporting on this and learning more information for us. Can you tell us where you're at and then what this is all about?
Yes, hey Judea. So we are currently at Widener University, where there was a community town hall today regarding, like you said, the future of Crozier Chester Medical Center in Chester, Upland area. And that's really who this meeting was geared towards, to get community input from. But of course, this was such a large medical facility until it was closed last May. So there were certainly a lot of people from across Delaware County who attended. In fact, it was standing room only. We know that about 180 people showed up to this meeting tonight, and it really was their first chance to have an opportunity to hear from Chariot Equities that bought the hospital property where Crozier Chester Medical Center currently sits empty. So they were able to share what their aspirational vision, that's what they call it, their aspirational vision is for the future of this hospital site. And they presented it in phases. So they said phase one is restoring care to the main campus where the vacant hospital sits right now. And they said their goal is to, quote, right size inpatient hospital care and then grow out the outpatient facilities on the campus as well, which would be phase two on the west side of that campus. They also talked about a phase 1B about revitalizing behavioral health services, and that would be on the North Campus site. So they shared their vision. This is what they want to do. They said that they would be right sizing to a 1/10 of the size for what Crozier Chester Medical Center was when it was open. So it would be about the size of where the ER sits now. And then the professional offices they're envisioning to turn into outpatient services. They say this is the way that modern medicine is being approached, for most of the medical services to be outpatient versus inpatient. And it was really interesting because Chariot Equity said that they're currently having conversations with 2 to 3 major academic medical systems right here in our region. The CEO could not name who those 2 to 3 academic medical systems are, but he said they are ones that are known and trusted right here in our communities. So of course, a few names do come to mind. But at this point, they were not ready to unveil who those conversations are with. But of course, this is their effort to try and partner with a hospital operator, because Chariot Equities is not an entity that would operate an actual hospital system, but it is their vision to bring one here. Now, when it comes to community reaction, there was a lot of applause from the room. I believe the first one was probably when it was announced that with Blue Cross that they are planning to bring primary care practice on site in the meantime, because Chariot Equities, as well as, other community stakeholders said, waiting 2 to 3 years for a hospital to open is 2 to 3 years too late. But at least in the meantime, they're hoping to bring primary care services to the campus. So we were told a timeline of about 9 months. So that's probably when we heard the first applause. But I think a lot of people are optimistic, but based on the community questions and concerns that were shared tonight, there is still some distrust, especially with the shuttering of Crozier Chester Medical Center, with the former owner Prospect Medical Holdings. But I will say there was a lot of optimism and people saying it would be great for them to actually follow through with their plan. Of course, some people are going to wait and see if it actually happens. Another point that the community was very positive about, Chariot Equities says they understand about 2,600 employees, staff members, were laid off when Chester Crozier closed last year. And they said that they would like to get in touch with those former employees. So once the hospital opens, if all goes according to plan, they could reach out to those laid off staff members first.
Okay, there are a lot of different ways that I could take this story. Let's start with some of the questions from our live stream chat. So I want to let you know Young Blue has been very interested in this story since you have started talking about it. And he wanted to ask, I'll summarize up his question for you. Can we call what would be coming back an actual hospital, or is it hospital adjacent?
There were some conversations about that, and I think another way that it was described, what the chat is calling hospital adjacent, as a micro hospital. And Chariot Equities says their vision is for it to not be that, not to be a micro hospital. They absolutely want to be able to open up the ER system and provide inpatient care. So that's what we were told so far. But of course, I think all of this heavily depends on who the hospital operator is. And it sounds like we aren't going to know until at least 6 months. And that's if everything goes very smoothly with this planning process.
Okay, so 6 months to learn a little bit more information that maybe would give us a better idea of what we're looking at here. But did they give a timeline on when they're hoping that all, let's say, new construction or whatever they're trying to bring in or out of this facility, have they given a timeline on when everything could be completed?
They were saying 2 to 3 years. And again, they said that they know 2 to 3 years is 2 to 3 years too late. But at this point, that appears to be a realistic timeline if all goes according to plan. And based on the conversations at this town hall today, it sounds like the entire facility is empty. There are no beds. There are no medical machinery. There is nothing inside the property here. And it sounds like because Chariot Equities wants to right size or downsize the facility as well, they're going to be knocking down some buildings. But it sounds like there will be some improvements to the facility. And then, of course, with the hospital operator, I think down the line, we'll be able to see what the actual footprint and interior looks like.
Okay. And then, just out of curiosity, while this was closed for so long, with a lot of people just trying to figure out where they were going to get their medical care, do you know what the closest facility would have been in this area?
It sounds like Riddle Hospital, which is, depending on traffic, 20 to 30 minutes away is the closest. And it may be the closest, but this community in Chester Upland, Upland Borough, City of Chester, they say it's too far. And in fact, I heard from community members who said they know of neighbors who have died waiting for an ambulance, waiting to get medical care because it just wasn't fast enough. So there is a real sense of urgency from the community standpoint. They wanted medical care available in the immediate area yesterday.
And then, correct me on this, I'm going to try to answer a question that we got from Tyara in the chat, and please let me know if I mispronounced your name. But she said, what is a micro hospital? And to my understanding, part of it is the size difference between a regular hospital and a micro hospital. But I'm also understanding that a micro hospital wouldn't take like intensive care patients. So if you had a more serious issue, that maybe it was like a life or death situation, you would probably still have to seek medical care somewhere else. Does that sound like I've got it right?
I'm not a medical expert, but it's that seemed like the way the conversations were trending when it came to conversations about what kind of care was available, as well as the number of beds. So based on the conversations, it sounds like the former Crozier Chester Medical Center had over 400 beds. The ownership made it clear that the new hospital will not have that as many beds, because they said that's what led to the financial issues in the first place. But they said there would be an adequate number of beds. They were not able to comment specifically on the number. And as you mentioned, you know, you think about some of the medical systems in our area, for example, trauma and burn units, a lot of them going to Temple. But Crozier Chester Medical Center was known for its burn unit and trauma center back in the day. Are we going to see that come back again? Again, I think it really depends on who the hospital operator ends up being, and really how large this hospital operation ends up being as well.
Okay. And you know what? Thank you for taking that question anyway, and answering it the way that you did, because this lets us know that, first of all, our audience is very interested in what we have to say on this topic. And I want to let them know too that you'll be back on the news at 10 o'clock so they can watch you again and maybe gain some more knowledge from your reporting. But then also, it also lets us know that there may be still some things that we got to figure out here, not just with us here as a news station, but the community clearly is looking for some more answers on what's going on here. So hopefully those leaders are also seeing something like this and they realize if they have another meeting, some of the things that we're going to want to know. So Jen, I really appreciate it. You have opened my eyes to a situation that I didn't know that much about, first because I'm not from here, but also I didn't realize there was a community going out without that kind of care for so long. So it's very important that we brought that news to our audience.
Okay.
Right.
And one more last thing to add.
Go ahead.
Chariot Equity said that this was just the first of what they plan to have many meetings. So I think you're right on point. I think there will be opportunity to ask even more questions for, our viewers who are really interested if, they are from the Delco region or, relied on Crozer-Chester for healthcare.
Exactly. Thank you. Again, letting everybody know you can watch Jen again in the 10 o'clock hour. You can stream us on Fox Local, our social media platforms. We're also always on YouTube as well. All right, Jen, I'm going to let you go. She has to do a lot more reporting and some more research before she brings you guys the news at 10. We have more headlines coming your way, but just a quick shout out to Tyara, to Brenda, to Obed's Joe, and to Young Blue, who were so active in the chat during that conversation. It made this a lot easier to break it down for you guys now that we know what it is that you want to know. You guys, when we come back, again, we're going to be talking about some of those hyperlocal headlines, things that you may want to know right here around you. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. We got a lot of news to talk to you about. So here are some things that are happening really close to home, things that may affect you. So first and foremost, I have to give you a warning. The story that I'm about to talk about does involve suicide. So with that fair warning, let's get on into it. You probably heard about that shooting that happened at the Egg Harbor Township Rehab Facility. We have learned that the person who was killed in the situation was a nurse there, and they say the person who did it was her estranged husband. They say that this was a murder-suicide at that facility. So obviously with a rehab type of situation, you're anticipating that people are going there just trying to seek treatment, trying to get better, trying to be helped, and that this nurse would have been one of those people actively helping them. So police say that this man came in, he shot and killed his estranged wife at that facility on Monday morning. They say then he turned the gun on himself and later died at the hospital, according to the investigators. Again, the woman was working as a nurse at that facility. It's not exactly clear as to why he would have come in to do this, why at work, why at all. But I can tell you that she was 38 years old. Her name was Victoria Alexander. They say that the suspect was 35 and his name was Brandon Alexander. They say that he waited in the parking lot for her to arrive to work. When she got there, they say that he blocked her car, entered her vehicle, and left 2 suicide notes on her dashboard. A food delivery truck driver reportedly asked Mr. Alexander to move his vehicle, and according to police, Victoria then ran into the building, but Brandon followed her inside and unfortunately fired off several shots, again, before turning the gun on himself. So you're taking some look at some video that our chopper was able to gather when this first happened, and we heard that police were rushing to the scene there. Unfortunately, Victoria was pronounced dead at the scene. Brandon was taken to a nearby medical center and died from his injuries later on that morning. Again, police are not letting us know any information about those suicide notes, and even if they had, I would be a little hesitant to share that information. I think it is very sensitive. I know that the family is probably trying to come to terms with this, make sense of it. I'm sure her coworkers are still very much so tender at this topic, so I probably wouldn't share that with you anyway, even if we did get it, just being honest. I also want to bring you through a story where we're learning about an influencer. I believe this woman also from, this person actually is from the Pennsylvania area. Her name is Ashley Janae, and her family says that she was found dead in Zanzibar right after she had gotten engaged. Now her family wants answers. They've actually put out a GoFundMe for her and her medical costs and whatnot. You were just taking a look at it. Now you're taking some look at some videos that she had posted up on social media. She was a very popular lifestyle influencer from the New Jersey area. They say that she died suddenly while on vacation in Zanzibar, and this was just days after her partner proposed to her. Local police in Zanzibar say that Robinson took her own life, but her family says that just does not seem like the person that they knew. And so they're demanding answers. Her family also says that they have not heard from her fiance ever since her death, and they want more information about what happened out there and where he is. Now again, with these 2 stories that I'm just telling you about now that allegedly involve a suicide of some sort, I do want to offer you guys some resources that may be available for you. There's a phone number available if you are having those harder thoughts, you need some help. There are resources available for you. All right, now, do you all remember baby Jessica? This is something that someone had to tell me about because I am under a very certain age, so I had no clue about this story. But apparently she was this young baby who fell inside a well in Texas. It made national headlines. Everybody all over was talking about it, which is why we're still talking about it here in Philadelphia. You're taking some look at some video from that scene when it first happened. Well, we have learned that that person who at one time was a young baby being rescued from a well is apparently facing assault charges now. So baby Jessica is now Jessica McClure Morales. So again, she was famously rescued from that Texas well as a toddler back in 1987, but she was arrested on Saturday for a domestic disturbance. She's now 40 years old and she faces a charge of assault causing bodily injury, family violence following an incident at a home out in Midland, Texas. So very peculiar situation there. We got that booking photo of Morales that you were able to take a look at there, but officers are declining to provide any further information, any details regarding the nature of the dispute that she's facing or the condition of the other person involved in this situation. So unfortunately, we have very limited information to provide for you all. But last but not least, I want to bring you all out to West Chester University, which is not to be mistaken for West Chester, New York. This is Pennsylvania that we're talking about here. A student who was killed in a crash near his frat house. Now everybody is still talking about this young man. So We know his family, community members, they gathered at that fraternity house on April 13th, just yesterday, to honor the life of 21-year-old Garrett Nicholas, who was hit and killed by a car near West Chester University. There was a memorial held outside his fraternity house, which is Pi Kappa Alpha, and it continues to grow as people are sharing the memories that they had with him and just trying to mourn and come to terms with what happened. I can tell you this was not a hit and run situation. The person who they say hit this young man did stay at the scene, and as of this time, we do not hear anything about any charges that could be filed against that particular driver. So it's not really clear what the circumstances of the situation may be, whether it was just an accident or what. Police aren't saying too much more, but the family and friends are definitely speaking up, talking about how loved he was, how much of a joy he was to be around. A lot of people talking about his infectious smile, which you can see on the picture that we have provided for you guys. All right, we are going to take a quick step back. I know that this was a hard, heavy little line of news segments that I put together, but we did have to talk to you about some of the things that are happening closer to home. When we come back, though, I did let you all know that Congress is back in session, and there are quite a few things that are on the agenda. First and foremost, the Department of Homeland Security. Who's funding it? How are they going to be paid? We'll be talking about it when we come back. Well, you guys, Congress is officially back in Washington, D.C. after a 2-week-long vacation. Remember, right around Easter, they actually took the time off. As we here all around the United States, we're looking at our airports, just trying to figure out what in the world was going on with TSA. As you all may remember, that was around the time where ICE was brought in, and there were so many arguments on the floor, just trying to come to terms with what could we do, what could we agree on as a funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security. I'm going to jog your memory again. You may remember that the Democrats say that if they were to go ahead and pass a funding bill, there are some things that they want. Like, for example, they want ICE agents not to be able to wear face coverings. They also wanted to restrict the amount of movement of ICE in different cities. And Republicans, on the other hand, they were saying, hey, this isn't the time to really play around with our Department of Homeland Security. We've got this war going on with Iran. People could strike at any point in time, and we don't have this right amount of, not blockage, but the right amount of protection available to us. So they were going back and forth, and they just couldn't seem to come to a general consensus. And again, they did end up going on that 2-week-long break, but they are officially back. So you're taking a live look at the House of Representatives. They are on the floor right now as we speak, talking about the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. As we know, we lost that pillar to our community, a civil rights icon, not too long ago. And the gentleman speaking right now is actually from Georgia. I recognize him from my old station. We're not going to listen into what they're talking about just now, because I want to run back while we're talking about the House of Representatives to make sure that I'm giving equal time to the Senate. So earlier today, the Senate, Republicans, Democrats, they met as well. I want to let you listen in. We'll do about 5 minutes each. We're going to play it fair. First, we'll start with the Republicans.
That would fund those agencies, and those were also blocked by the Democrats. So the Democrats can't seem to take yes for an answer on anything, and for all what they have done here, for all intents and purposes, is shut down the appropriations process. So Republicans have been forced to do this the hard way, but we did, thankfully, because of the work that we did last summer, have been able to ensure that people at those agencies in that department are being paid. And thankfully for that, and then coupled with that, the intention that we now have to come in behind that and pass a reconciliation bill that would enable those agencies to continue to be funded 3 years into the future. So I'm trying to figure out exactly, as I think about it, what the Democrats got out of all this. Thanks to the work we did last summer in the Working Families Tax Cuts bill, the ICE and CBP agencies are funded. Both people, field staff, but also civilian staff, office staff are all being funded. And thanks to the good work that the President did, some of the other agencies within the department are currently being funded. All of the things that the Democrats made this about, which was supposed to be about reforms to the way that ICE and CBP operate, they got none of that. Zero. And now we're going to fund those agencies for 3 years into the future. The only thing the Democrats got out of this was they now own the issue of open borders and defund law enforcement. Honestly, I don't know what else they walk away from with this other than, again, trying to destroy the appropriations process, which historically has been done in a bipartisan way. But the Republicans are going to stand with our Border Patrol, with our law enforcement agencies, and we're going to ensure that they are funded not only today, but well into the future. And so the budget resolution Senator Graham is preparing, we will have on the floor hopefully as early as next week. We'll provide multiple years of funding for these agencies, and a reconciliation bill, which will follow shortly after, will ensure that that job gets done. So that's where we are in the process, but we're going to move quickly, decisively, and hopefully in a very focused way on ensuring that those important law enforcement agencies, contrary to the Democrats' defund law enforcement efforts, are funded not only today but well into the future.
Mr. Leader, on Iran, Leader, President Trump has repeatedly threatened civilian infrastructure. Last week he said that if his demands weren't met, an entire civilization would die. Are those kinds of threats from the president something you're comfortable with?
I think what you got to, again, look at what the president is doing. And I think right now he's trying to open up the Strait of Hormuz, which I think we are all supportive of, and the efforts that are being made there to further isolate the Iranian regime and their economy, which is an energy-dependent economy, hopefully will have the desired effect. And we'll get the strait open again, and that's sort of their last resort. I mean, the military effort here has been extraordinarily successful. This is the sort of the last dying gasp of this regime, is to try and shut down the strait. And the administration is making an effort to ensure that it's open, that there can be traffic in and out of there, and hopefully that'll be successful, and we can begin to see this thing wind down.
Mr. Leader, I know that your challenge is to try to keep this reconciliation bill as narrow as possible. Are you and the Speaker on the same page as to what will be in this bill?
We have spoken regularly, and the White House has been involved in all these conversations. So. I don't speak for the House or how they do things. We have our own unique challenges here in the Senate. But as we initiate this process, the budget resolution followed up with a reconciliation bill, and what it will include are all elements that I think that, as we have talked with the Speaker and folks in the House of Representatives, they understand where we're going.
You worried they're going to ask for other things, though?
Well, they could. I mean, we have members who want other things. I mean, I want other things. But obviously, we have a specific mission and purpose here, and that is to ensure that these important agencies of our government that have vital functions when it comes to our homeland and national security are funded. That is a narrow and specific purpose, and my hope would be that if we can execute on getting that done here in the Senate, the House will be able to follow through.
Can I ask you on the issue of funding the government, though? It has been weeks since the Senate passed their bill to keep DHS funded. It is still sitting in the House. How long are they going to be sitting on that package before DHS is finally funded?
Well, again, and this, remember, this all happened because Democrats would not vote to fund any of these law enforcement agencies. But I'm hopeful that if we can show evidence and progress, and if we can get on this next week, which I think we can, on a budget resolution that would ensure that we are going to fund these agencies, that the House will be able to move the appropriations package. Right now, as you know, all these agencies are being funded because of action that the President took. But that's not something that's sustainable over the long term. These agencies need to be funded, and we want to make sure that the agencies that are not going to be handled through reconciliation, ICE and CBP, also have funding for the rest of the fiscal year.
All right, you guys, so we were just listening to the Senate Majority Leader, Senator John Thune from South Dakota. I mentioned that we were going to play it fair. While I play the Senate Republicans, of course, we are also going to hear from the Senate Democrats. The same amount of time that I gave the Republicans, I want to give the Democrats. Let's listen in.
Our leadership stakeout. So let's call Trump's Iran policy for what it is. Not Trump's Operation Epic Fury, Trump's Operation Epic Failure. That's just what it is. It's an epic failure. 45 days into this war, things are worse than the day Trump started his choice of putting us in war. Let's look at the chart here. Strait of Hormuz, the situation is worse. Iranian regime, situation worse. Gas prices, situation worse. Iran's nuclear ambition, worse. American credibility, worse. What a colossal failure. What a colossal failure. And yet, despite all of that, 45 days, Congress has done nothing. Nothing. They're putting their heads in the sand with this awful war that's hurting America, hurting the American people, hurting the world economy. No hearings, no oversight, no accountability. Not one. You'd think in this war there'd be some hearings at least. Nope. Not one. So if Republicans won't act, Senate Democrats will force the issue. Starting this week, we will bring a war powers resolution to the floor, and if Republicans block it, we will vote again and again and again. Until this war ends, or Congress does its job and holds the administration accountable, we will bring these resolutions to the floor every week. I believe 10 of them have been filed. Okay, why do we do this? Because our troops deserve a mission, not a mess. They deserve a strategy, not chaos. Now Republicans have a choice. Stand with our troops or keep them in harm's way without a plan. Stand up as a senator or rubber stamp Trump's disastrous and failed war policies. We're going to force that choice week after week after week. And while Republicans sow chaos abroad, they're creating chaos here. So tomorrow, Senator Duckworth will bring a war powers resolution to the floor. Next week, Senator Baldwin will bring a war powers resolution to the floor, and there will be one every week. Now, let me talk for a minute about the Department of Homeland Security that's still in a state of shutdown. Let me be clear, Republicans could fix it today. Democrats passed bipartisan funding twice for the parts of DHS that protect Americans every day. Why'd Republicans block it? Because Donald Trump and Stephen Miller told them to. Instead of reopening DHS and delivering for the American people, Republicans are dragging the Senate through a partisan circus just to avoid basic accountability for ICE and Border Patrol. So the pattern, unfortunately, with this administration is clearer and clearer. Chaos abroad, the war. Chaos at home, with not funding DHS with reform. A failed war overseas, a manufactured crisis here in Washington. In both cases, Republicans aren't leading. They're following orders. Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. And I'm glad to have the Tammy Caucus here in full force also.
Madam Chair.
Look, I have to be honest. This war is not what I want to be here talking about. Over the recess, I was home in Wisconsin, and I heard from families and workers. I met with police and fire chiefs and small business owners. They have a lot on their plate right now. In some fashion or another, almost every one of them brought up how they are struggling to pay for something they need because of high costs. Fire chiefs need new equipment. Families are figuring out how on earth they're going to be able to afford to rent or buy a home. And small businesses are being hit in every direction with higher input costs. That is what we should be talking about here today. How we can meet these folks' needs. But instead, we're talking about an illegal war of choice that has not made us any safer. And it is actually raising costs and has simply gone off the rails. We are over a month in, and because I think it bears repeating, here is what this illegal war has meant. 13 American service members are dead, and their families are now grieving and living without a loved one. Hundreds more soldiers are wounded. Taxpayers have been left with a bill for tens of billions of dollars. Gas prices have surged, more than $1 per gallon up. And given the mess in the Strait of Hormuz, those prices look like they're only going to get worse. Fertilizer costs are skyrocketing for farmers across the country, including in Wisconsin. And we know it's just a matter of time until those costs are going to be impacted, the families that we represent, and they'll see those costs at the grocery store. Iran's resolve has been strengthened. And despite what the president says, the Iranian regime still has a huge stockpile of enriched uranium, and its capacity to build a nuclear weapon has not been diminished since this war began. I don't know how else to put this. This war has been a disaster, a total and complete disaster. Americans are paying the price because of this war, and it is abundantly clear that the president has not even a shred of a plan for how we get out of this mess. So, we need to do it for him. This week, we will force the Senate to vote on a Wars Powers resolution to end this war. And if Republicans won't wake up and smell the coffee this week, we will force these votes again and again and again.
All right, so you guys, we were just listening in to both the Republicans and the Democrats as it pertains to the Senate, but I also want to let you know that the House Republicans are still actively at work. The Senate did, they left, but now it looks, I'm trying to see who's speaking. I don't have my glasses on, so it's a little difficult. That might be Representative Maxine Waters, but
a dedicated and committed follower of
yes,
Jesse
okay,
Jackson.
and they're talking about Reverend
with
Jesse
Reverend
Jackson, who
both
died not too long ago. Let's listen in.
And the 1988 presidential campaigns. I was a top advisor on the national campaign when was appointed by Reverend Jackson to chair and lead the California campaign. You know, I hear a lot said about Reverend Jackson, and most people knew him from, television, radio, and his public speeches, but I was a close-up witness to Reverend Jackson's brilliant campaign strategies and developments. He used his voice and his organizing skills to create the beautiful Rainbow Coalition long before there was any understanding or appreciation for diversity, equity, and inclusion for all intents and purposes. Reverend Jackson made sure that the campaign that he headed included Latinos, Asians, Native Americans, whites, women, LGBTQ, organized labor, and others. He brought together pastors, preachers, and multi-faith leaders from all over the country. And I recall his work and his outreach to small farmers in rural areas. Jesse Jackson went into areas in rural America where those who did not know him hated him and thought for some reason he could be of no use to them. But once he got into those communities and started to work with the rural farmers, and many of them were having their farms foreclosed on at that time. And Reverend Jackson learned a lot about how to talk with bankers, about loan modifications so that those farmers could stay in business. And even today, there are farmers and their families who remember what Reverend Jackson did to them in these rural communities. It was amazing kind of development and association that he made. He was responsible for cracking open the doors of America's corporate community and those in Silicon Valley. Reverend Jackson was also an international ambassador for peace. He used his tremendous influence to champion human rights. I worked with him in the Free South Africa movement, where he helped free Nelson Mandela and bring an end to apartheid in South Africa. We had a wonderful experience of attending the inauguration when Nelson Mandela became president of South Africa. And of course, Reverend Jackson helped to secure the release of U.S. hostages all around the world. But the one that stands out to me is when he went to Syria and negotiated the release of U.S. Navy Lieutenant Robert Goodman, Jr. Reverend Jackson was an extraordinary human being and a truly human rights advocate. I can recall when we went to public housing projects. In Los Angeles, he was at Nickerson Gardens housing projects where the gangbangers and others met him for the first time. And when he went to Nickerson Gardens, they were not believers. They didn't know an awful lot. And so they challenged him to stay overnight in public housing at Nickerson Gardens. And he did. And right now, when you go to Nickerson Gardens, some of those older members who remembered him from when he came to Nickerson Gardens will point to the unit where Reverend Jackson slept in Nickerson Gardens housing project. But that's not enough. You saw Congressman Cleo Fields here tonight. I want you to know when Katrina happened, Reverend Jackson organized me and some others. We went to New Orleans where Cleo Fields rented a bus. We got on that bus and we traveled all over New Orleans. Why did we do that? Because there were people who had been left on rooftops with no way to get down. And some of them were helped down by Reverend Jackson and Cleo Fields and myself, and many of them had been dropped along the wayside, hoping somebody.
Okay, so we have been listening in to Representative Maxine Waters, and just to summarize, they're talking about the life and the legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson. We of course lost him a little earlier this year, and they've been talking about the history there. This has been going on for quite some time. And I also want to let you know, just off to the side, I believe it's the right side of Representative Waters, is Representative Jonathan Jackson, who is Reverend Jesse Jackson's son. He's also an Illinois representative. He's been listening to everyone come up and speak so kindly about his father. So if this is still going later on, we will come back to it. But I want to make sure that we're also touching base with what's happening in the world of sports. There's so much. Phillies are playing, the Flyers are playing. And I also want to talk to you about FIFA World Cup. So we'll talk about all of that when we come back. All right, welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. We've got a lot to talk to you about all within the world of sports. Bringing on Breland Moore right now from the Fox Sports team. Hey, Breland, first of all, it is so nice to have you back. You brought the spice back to the Fantastic Sports Show a little earlier on today. And what a perfect time to come back with the Flyers on top.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really unbelievable turnaround for both the Sixers and the Flyers. Not so much the Sixers. We kind of knew they would probably be in this position of the play-in tournament. But the Flyers, when I left for my vacation, mind you, I was only gone for about 8 days on a cruise, and they were 5 points out of the final wild card spot. Now they have secured the third playoff position for their division. It's an unbelievable meteoric rise for them. Of course, a couple of other teams had to have some epic collapses as well. Columbus and, of course, the New York Islanders being those teams. But yeah, just really, really fun atmosphere tonight. Now, they are currently playing the Montreal Canadiens. At last check, the Flyers were up 3-2, and really fun tonight. This is basically meaningless for both teams. Both teams have clinched their playoff spots, but the Flyers have called up a bunch of youngsters from their American Hockey League team, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and one of them, Oliver Bonk, making his NHL debut this evening, scored his very first goal in the National Hockey League. So not a bad debut by Oliver Bonk at all. Really, really fun evening, and of course, just everyone so excited for this rivalry series in the postseason against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay, so while we're talking about the young people who have their eyes on the Flyers, I saw earlier you were actually out talking to the fans, even some of those young fans. What was the energy like as people were walking into the arena?
Yeah, I think everyone was really electric, and the majority of people that I talked to, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And they said, "So much better now that we don't have to worry about this game. Everyone was just so thrilled that the Flyers were able to take care of business. Didn't make it easy on people last night. Of course, they were down 2-0 in the first period of play, came back, evened it up, and then Tyson Forster with that shootout goal sealed the deal. Dan Vladar, goaltender, just was a brick wall during that, and it just unbelievable performance by the Flyers. And so tonight, the fans were going in happy, coasting, and like I said, getting ready for the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is a historic rivalry between these two, really heating up, of course, in that Sidney Crosby era, one of the greatest hockey players of all time. He, in this era, is 3-1 against the Flyers, so really tough. But, I mean, he's also been in the league 21 years and is getting a little long in the tooth here. So it'll be youth against experience in this series, and also just a really great cross-state rivalry that we really have not seen in a very, very long time play out in the postseason.
Dang, 21 years, so that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm getting the gist, the vibe that it's that youthful energy that the team is bringing that maybe is the reason why they had this revival. Is that what you're seeing too from the fans?
Yes and no. I think they have a lot of talent on this team now, and I just really think that things are just clicking at the right time. I don't think anybody expected this to be a playoff caliber team. I actually remember at the start of the season, Dan Hilferty, who's the Flyers chairman, saying, hey, playoffs are not on our radar right now. We just want to build and keep getting better each and every year and make sure that we grow this talent here. That was the main objective. Playoffs are just a little added bonus here, but what these guys have been able to do has just been nothing short of incredible. And I think it's a real testament to the maturity that we're starting to see in some of these very young guys. Sean Couturier is one of the oldest members in the team, and he's probably the only one still remaining from that heyday of the 2010s era Flyers hockey here, when we actually saw playoffs consistently on Broad Street. So it's very, very amazing.
Well, I know it has to feel pretty sweet then to be able to see that full circle moment where you're finally back in the glory. All right, so we're keeping our eyes on the Flyers, of course, but the Phillies are playing tonight too. How are they doing?
Well, it's been a pretty insane day all around. Mind you, also we have the Sixers getting ready for their play-in tournament tomorrow as well. But the Phillies are playing the Cubs. Remember, last night the bats just really came alive. 13-7 was your final score. Aaron Nola was your starting pitcher this evening. And the Phils, well, that one is also exciting. I feel like it was just an insane situation going on down at the sports complex. But 7-3 there in the top of the 7th. And Sosa is having himself a day, but yeah, it's been a very interesting time here at the sports complex. And as I mentioned, tomorrow the Sixers will be in their play-in tournament. They take on the Orlando Magic, and that is the 7-8 play-in tournament matchup. So.
I'm sorry, I was looking at that score, and that's just sad. We got
happens.
those 3 when I was talking to Scott earlier.
It happens. That's baseball. I mean, they put up 13 yesterday. Now they only have 3. That's just kind of the way things go. But they'll figure it out. It's very early. It is April 14th, April 15th, or April 14th. So I'm not too concerned about them.
All right, well, it looks like so far, so good. We'll see what's going on with the score at the end of the game. And, of course, we're going to keep our eyes on the Flyers, too, as they enter their third period. Later on, we'll be chatting a little bit more about the Sixers, so I've got some questions. But I'm going to let you go so that you can keep watching both games so you're on top of it next time I want to talk to you.
Thank you.
No problem. You guys out there streaming with us, World Cup. FIFA is a billion-dollar industry. I should say soccer is a billion-dollar industry. A lot of fans from all around the world will be flocking to the United States to see these games, and it has been so hard for people to get tickets. I don't know exactly how you guys feel here in Philadelphia about soccer, but I know when I was still in Atlanta, that was the talk of town. A lot of people are going to be in our area. Airbnbs are going to be going crazy, and businesses are hoping to start selling out when all these people come to our area. But I'm also hearing that FIFA has added a new expensive ticket group, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about this. So FIFA raised its prices for its tickets category on, for the 2026 World Cup. And if it's possible, do you guys mind if we try to go to the FIFA website? It's FIFA.com/EN for English /tickets. I want to show them what the tickets are looking like today. Now, some World Cup tier prices for seats at matches will cost people thousands of dollars. And yes, soccer is very impressive. Soccer is very popular. But are you willing to pay a couple $1,000s to watch these games play out before your very eyes? We know that this major international soccer tournament will be taking place anywhere between June 11th to July 19th, depending on what city you want to go to. Now, let's bring this a little closer to home so that you know exactly what we're looking at here in Pennsylvania, because Philly has some of those games. For the round of 16 games, the organization added $905 seats right here in Philadelphia. So while we're not seeing a couple thousands, 905 is not that far off. Again, are you willing to pay that to see some of your favorite soccer teams play? And, you know, I don't know, I've never gone to a major league soccer game or anything like that, so I'm not quite sure if this is really the run-of-the-mill price for tickets, or if we're used to seeing, or you guys who are regular fans are used to seeing cheaper prices. But I can tell you that this is as of last week that FIFA has raised its prices. And so a lot of people are talking about this. It's one of the trending topics on Google. I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware. There are also Category 2 tickets for the July 19th game at MetLife Stadium. So if you can't make it out to the game in Philadelphia, maybe you were going to East Rutherford, New Jersey, but we're seeing some of those tickets are anywhere between like up to $7,380, which is up from the about $5,500 that we were seeing not too long ago. So absolutely insane, but somebody's going to pay it, which is why they're doing this. All right, so that's that on FIFA World Cup. When we come back, I want to talk to you about some other trending topics. Like, for example, did you know that Chris Brown and Usher have teamed up for an R&B concert, and they've actually dropped their tour dates? So we'll talk about that when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. I brought up Jake Leonard back to the digital set, of course. Okay, listen, I wanted to know, what's Philly talking about? So what have you seen?
So we have exciting news today for all those UFC fans here in Philadelphia. So today, Josh Shapiro joined the UFC president to announce that on Saturday, August 15th at the Xfinity Mobile Arena, UFC 330 is going to be held.
Philly has been doing it with all the sports.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how we got all these bids, but hey.
I know, it's so exciting. This is the first numbered UFC game in 15 years. So the first pay-per-view game. So the last one was UFC 133 in 2011. Isn't that crazy?
It is. Wait, so when are we thinking this may happen?
So it's going to happen on Saturday, August 15th.
Okay.
So a little bit away, but still exciting.
Yeah, no. Put that on your calendars, you guys. And talking about things to do, Usher
Yeah.
and Chris Brown, as
Yep.
you know, did announce
Yes.
that they want to do their R&B tour together, which is crazy because Chris Brown sells out his concert tours and whatnot. And then Usher had that residency in Vegas.
Yes.
So, of course, they're probably going to do numbers when it comes to this particular tour. Now, they said that they were going to be making a stop in East Rutherford, New Jersey, not just once, but twice.
Wow.
August 7th and August 8th.
Okay.
So that week, you got the first weekend, you got the Chris Brown Usher concert, and then you can go see UFC.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So much to do.
Yeah. Okay, one more real quick. Actually, I think you brought something up for
Yes.
the, yeah.
Yes, I did. So exciting news today.
Okay.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees were announced.
Okay.
So
Ooh,
there
who's
were
on the
8.
list?
Yes, there's 8 of them, but I'm not going to tell you all of them. You can look online for the other 4.
Okay. We
But
like
the
a tease.
4 that I will tell you: Iron Maiden,
Okay.
Oasis, Billy Idol,
Of course.
and Luther Vandross.
Luther, it wasn't already.
First time nominee. Yes.
That.
Isn't that so exciting?
Yeah, that actually, I wasn't expecting that. Okay. So, and you said you guys already have an article up on the website?
Yes.
Okay. So, if you're looking at whoever else could potentially
Yes.
been brought
4
in.
more other people. You can find out yourself.
Okay. Guess in the comment section and don't look it up first.
Yes.
I want to know who you think. I'm just shocked about Luther. Wow. All right. Well, congratulations to everybody who just made the list and to his family and friends, you know, who are probably accepting that on his behalf. Jake, thanks for talking to me about what
Thank you
people
for having
really
me.
are talking about. All right. So, moving right along. While we're in this vein of feeling good about the news, I want to bring you a story that's definitely going to warm your heart. Dawn got out there. Usually you see her at 10 o'clock at night, but right now she's making it a rare appearance for us. Dawn, I heard you met a man who's in his 90s and he's still moving around like nobody's business. Tell me about this man.
Yeah, so he is 91 years old. He is a Huntingdon Valley Fire Department member. And he was honored tonight for 70 years of service. Can you imagine 70 years on the same job, a volunteer serving his community? And if we can take a look at some of the video we shot earlier, he had no idea. So the fire department had recognized him last month, but tonight the Lower Moreland Township Board of Commissioners wanted to recognize him. They got wind that he'd been with the fire department for 70 years. So they honored him with a special fire axe and a bunch of commendations. His whole family was there. His wife of 70 years as well surprised him. And it was just so heartwarming. And he was so appreciative of this honor. The room was packed with his fellow firefighters. Let's take a listen to what he had to say and what some of his colleagues had to say.
Very much appreciate it, and you know, especially from all the guys that you work with all these years.
70 years of service in a company that's just unheard of. It's extremely rare. We're extremely proud of Emil.
What an example for not only me as someone who's been involved for 20 years, but for younger men and women who want to join the volunteer fire service and make a difference serving their community.
So his name is Emil Dix. His whole family, as I mentioned, was there. He was joking. He didn't know how everybody kept it a secret. And we were running around trying to interview some of his fellow firefighters and hoping that he wouldn't see us. But I asked him today his secret to success, and he said, like, part of it is like having fun and the camaraderie of working side by side and knowing that you're serving your community. And just a really sweet man. I asked him if he had any plans of retiring, and you can probably guess his answer. He said no plans on retiring. And members of the fire department, when you've had several completed some milestones of service, say 20 years, you get a pin that says 20 years. We interviewed a fellow firefighter who remembers being out on calls with him years and years ago. He had a 60-year pin that you know they wear on their uniform. Well, they didn't have pins that said 70 years, so they had to have a specially made pin just for Emil Dix because no one in the fire company has ever reached this milestone. So it's just really a heartwarming story. They were so glad we came, and you'll see a lot more tonight on Fox 29 News at 10 o'clock.
Dawn, this is exactly the cleanse that I needed on the stream with some of the heavy news that I've been bringing people. First of all, there is no way that that young man that I'm looking at is 91 years old. There's absolutely no way.
I know, you know, it's funny. I thought the same thing. He does not look his age.
Or sound it.
And I don't know if his wife is a couple years younger or not. I know they've been married. They just celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary. And they were super cute together. You know, I was asking him a couple questions, and he kind of looked over at her like, what's the right answer, dear? And I was joking with him. I'm like, behind every good man is an even better woman. But he said that she had also helped out over the years at this fire company. But we met a lot of really great people, and it's nice to see people like him being honored. And the current fire chief said that he really serves as a mentor to some of these younger guys because he's been there, he's done it, and he wants to continue to serve. I love it.
I love it too. Now, you asked him about his secret to success, but what about that secret to vitality? At 91 years old, still moving around like that and being so helpful to the community. How's he doing it?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's funny because I actually tend to do a lot of stories with, you know, people who are 90. I've interviewed a couple people who are 100 or still really active as they get up there in age. And they say the key is really remaining active, remaining social, having a purpose. And I think definitely for Emil, that's exactly it, because he goes to the board meetings, he's still involved, he still cares. The fire chief said, if you ask him to do anything, he does it. Consider it done. And so I think being active and having purpose, and also the camaraderie, it's really a brotherhood, just keeps him young. And it was great to see his family was there. I met his daughter, some grandkids, and he was like, I don't know how they kept this a secret. But yeah, just a really feel-good story.
That is so precious. I want to ask you, every journalist has their thing. You said that you like interviewing some of these older people about, you know, the lives that they lead and how they've been able to do it. Why? What does it do for you? What are these kinds of stories like for you?
I love telling people stories. I like to talk to people and find out their secret to success, what matters to them. It's just so interesting to talk to people, especially some of the older generation who've been around and seen so many changes. I interviewed a couple a while back, and they had been married, I don't know, it was like 50, 60. Do you remember, Aaron, how many years they were married, that one couple?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, a lot. Just what they'd experienced and their love and their feelings. And you could see the love, too, in that room tonight between this 91-year-old man and his wife and his kids. And I don't know, I just like telling people's stories. Makes me feel good, and I like bringing them to people because I think it makes them feel good. And like you said, in a day and age where there is so much heaviness, it's really nice to tell people's stories. I like telling stories about, you know, people who are the underdogs or who beat the odds. And of course, I love telling stories about animals because I'm a huge animal lover.
This
that's
is really
kind of
special.
What motivates me.
And you can tell that you love doing it. Just you glow as you talk about it. So I really enjoyed this. Again, it feels like a perfect reset. Like I feel like you just put a battery in my back and I'm ready to get up and go again.
Good. Good. I like to hear that. All right.
Our chat said thank you for your service. I'm not sure if they were talking about Emil there or maybe they were talking about you, but either way, I just wanted to pass along the message. Dawn, thank you.
All right. We'll see you soon.
All right, and you guys, again, you'll see more of that story. She just gave us a little sneak peek. You'll see more of her story at 10 o'clock, so don't go anywhere. And still ahead, got a lot more headlines for you. So we've talked about some of the hyperlocal headlines, things that are happening right here in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, close to home that may affect you. But I also want to talk about some national stories. We've been keeping up with President Donald Trump and this feud with the Pope. We'll talk about that when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. President Donald Trump versus Pope Leo. Who's going to come out on top? Does it even matter? If you are just now learning about this situation that's really developing, unfolding between the two of them, it's been an interesting and honestly just weird riff. So first of all, it started with President Donald Trump saying that Pope Leo was weak. He says that he's a captive to the radical left, and he says that Pope Leo may actually owe his position to the president, saying that it wasn't until he became president that we looked at an American as a pope. Now, the Pope has declared Trump's threats toward Iran to be, and I quote, truly unacceptable. He's pointed multiple times to the Bible, to church doctrine on war and peace, and he says that his purpose is not about President Donald Trump at all. He also says that he's not afraid of the Trump administration. He said this in a press conference with the media while he was headed on his way to Africa. So very interesting situation there. I'm not quite sure how this is all going to end. Oh, and how could I miss this? That meme at the very center of all of this. So President Donald Trump posted a meme to his Truth Social account not too long ago. It has since been deleted. But that meme was generated by AI, and in it, a lot of people suggest that he was trying to emulate Jesus Christ. He says, no, I was just trying to appear to be a doctor, a healer of the nation. And that post, like I said, even though it's been taken down, it has still been making its rounds on social media. Again, with President Donald Trump saying that is not at all what he was trying to do there. So that's the latest on that. In the meantime, Vice President J.D. Vance spoke earlier today. There was a Turning Point USA event that took place in Athens, Georgia. And at some point in it, he actually got heckled by the audience because he was talking out loudly, boldly about Pope Leo. I want to play that part of this event for you all.
But again, I'd almost rather have the conversation. So I kind of like, even when there's disagreement, I like it when the Pope comments on questions of immigration. I like it when the Pope talks about abortion. I like it when the Pope talks about matters of war and peace, because I think that at the very least it invites a conversation. So I think some people, their reaction to this is to say, well, he shouldn't have said that. And look, there are certainly things that the Pope has said in the last few months that I disagree with. Let me just take like one very concrete example related to this conflict in Iran. So the Pope said something where he said, and I'm gonna try to remember the exact quote, but he said that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword. God is never on the side of those who wield the sword. I'm pretty sure that he said that exact statement. Now, on the one hand, again, I like that the Pope is an advocate for peace. I think that's certainly one of his roles. On the other hand, how can you say that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword? Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated France from the Nazis? Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated Holocaust camps and liberated those innocent people from, those who had survived the Holocaust? I certainly think the answer is yes, and I agree. Jesus Christ does not. I agree. Jesus Christ certainly does not support genocide. Whoever yelled that out from the dark, he certainly does not. I think that's pretty easy. I think that's a pretty easy principle. Okay, so here's a guy. Let me just say this. This is a guy. No. First of all, random dude who's shouting, can I finish my point and then I'll respond to what you just shouted? Is that okay? Okay, great.
Yeah, can we give him 1 second to answer this?
So let me just finish this question on the Pope, and then I want to respond to what this guy said. So, number one, when the Pope says that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword, there is more than a 1,000-year tradition of just war theory. Okay? Now, we can, of course, have disagreements about whether this or that conflict is just, but I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology. And I think that one of these issues here is that there has been, again, hey, random dude screaming, I told you I'd respond to your point. I just want to respond to this question first. But I think one of the issues here is that if you're going to opine on matters of theology, you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure it's anchored in the truth. And that's one of the things that I try to do. And it's certainly something I would expect from the clergy, whether they're Catholic or Protestant. Now, to respond to this guy here, he said, I believe he said the administration supports a genocide in Gaza. And here's my response to that. When we came in, the humanitarian situation in Gaza was an absolute catastrophe. You know who's the person who got a peace agreement in Gaza? Donald J. Trump. So if you want to complain about what happened in Gaza, so if you want, sir, to complain about what happened in Gaza, why don't you complain about Joe Biden and the last administration? We're the administration that solved that problem.
All right, so pretty heated exchange there, as you could hear. Even though we couldn't necessarily hear what that man in the audience was yelling, by the way that the vice president responded, you could tell that it was pretty spicy. So that happened earlier today. I don't know if you also heard, or whether or not you care, but President Donald Trump has announced that he would be attending this year's White House Correspondents' Dinner. And you're taking a live look at the White House as we speak on this. But this is interesting because he hasn't done this since 2015. He was actually boycotting the dinner. And a lot of people suggest that if he did go to this year's, it might be a little awkward. White House Correspondents' Dinner is typically where the media, journalists gather together. Oftentimes there are roasts, even roasting the president at the time. It might get a little heated. Usually comedians do that roasting part, by the way, and they do not hold back their tongues. So, could be interesting. I'm sure it'll make for great TV. I've actually gotten to go to one of those White House Correspondents' Dinners while I was still in college, and it was a very cool experience. Now, he announced this a while ago, but we're bringing it back up because April 25th is when that event happens. So that is the day you are definitely going to want to be on X, on Instagram, to see what was said. Those videos are definitely going to populate your timeline. That's what's happening there. And just so you know, this is the first time since like 2015 that President Donald Trump would be attending, according to his statement. And have you heard about the cocaine hippos? It's not what you think. So let's unpack it. Some hippos that have apparently been connected to Pablo Escobar. That's why they're called cocaine hippos. They're not out there doing coke, you guys, but they are facing euthanization in Colombia. So Colombia has approved a plan to kill nearly half of the estimated wild hippos in the country. Why, you may ask? Those hippos have been allowed to roam freely in central Colombia and have been known to threaten villagers. Hippo's ancestors were brought to South American nation by one-time drug kingpin Pablo Escobar. Now, dozens of hippos who descended from the ones that were originally brought to Colombia by Escobar are expected to be killed. I'm thinking 80 are what we're talking about. They'll be killed as the South American nation looks to control its population. So if you're not quite understanding, the term that you're going to see on social media has been cull, C-U-L-L, and literally that's just a fancy word for they're selectively slaughtering a group of animals. So again, those hippos, as they're calling them cocaine hippos, but it's really just hippos tied to Pablo Escobar, are expected to be killed pretty soon, and this is supposed to control the population. All right, with that being said, we've got a lot of our headlines, our main ones, out of the way. I want to turn things on over to our meteorologist and see what's going on up there in the skies. Kathy Orr joins us in that gorgeous pink. Every time I see you, I just smile. Kathy, what's going on with the skies?
Well, we have a beautiful night. I mean, for anybody that went to the Phillies game, the Flyers game, great weather, Judea. So nice out there. So temperatures still hovering in the 70s around the Delaware Valley, and a few showers out there as well that we have to keep an eye on. On Ultimate Doppler, we have a few showers in Philadelphia right now, 81 degrees. And when you look at that at Citizens Bank Park, just a really nice night to be outside. Now, those temperatures are going to stay quite mild during the overnight. Now, normal highs for this time of year, or I should say lows, are in the 40s. We'll be in the 60s. On Ultimate Doppler, you can see some showers and thunderstorms south of Harrisburg, east of 81, moving toward York County and also Lancaster County. And if these hold together, that means we could see some rain moving through Chester County, northern Newcastle County, Delaware County, maybe even some showers in Philadelphia and South Jersey, but that would take a couple hours, and these storms are not severe. So that's the good news with that. 80 in Doylestown, 76 in Trenton, 73 degrees in Exton, 60s overnight. That's some 20 degrees above average. And by the time we make it through tomorrow, I mean, in the morning it's going to be balmy. In the afternoon, it will be around 90 degrees. Winds gusting to about 25 miles an hour tomorrow afternoon, and that is how we will achieve these temperatures. As we look at the records for tomorrow, the record in Philadelphia is 88 degrees. In Atlantic City, it's 86 in Wilmington, set back in 1896. That was a very long time ago. And Allentown, Trenton, and Reading, the records date back to 1994. So for your Wednesday, yes, we're getting up there in the 90s, some 70s and 80s down the shore with that sea breeze. And we look at those back-to-back potential records, forecasting 92 Wednesday in Philadelphia, 93 on Thursday, looking for back-to-back record highs. Stay hydrated. That's the best advice for the next 3 days. The humidity will not be high, but the temperatures will be, at least for Wednesday and Thursday. By Friday, we're back around 80 degrees, and it will be more comfortable. So on the 3-day forecast tomorrow, tax day, 92. 93, that record for Thursday, 80 for Friday, and then you'll see temperatures falling. Saturday, we're in the 70s, still a nice day. Rain breaks the heat on Sunday with a high of 62. Morning temperatures for Monday in the 40s, afternoon highs 50s, and look at Tuesday morning, 35 degrees. So we could go from 90s the next couple of days. Next Tuesday, morning lows in the 30s. That would be winter coat weather, Judea, and maybe even a frost by Tuesday morning. So do not put away that heavier coat just yet.
Kathy, you're breaking my heart again. Okay, so we're going from record-breaking heat.
Yes.
To don't put away that winter coat just yet. How does that belong in the same sentence?
I don't even know. I pulled this dress out of the summer closet, and I'm going to have to put it back and go back into the winter closet.
My body is so weather confused right now.
Yes.
And we are just trying to make it through. But I'm going to enjoy the warm weather while we have it. I'm not going to complain, Mother Nature. You didn't have to do this for us, but you did. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Kathy, we'll check in with you later. You guys will see her at 10 o'clock. She's got a lot to do, so I'm going to let you get back to it, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we got a couple of comments, questions in our live chat. I want to touch base. Okay, so JRL 1950 asked a very important question. Remember when I was talking to you about the cocaine hippos, and I mentioned that 80 of them would be euthanized out in Colombia. They say that they're trying to control the population. There are just way too many of these wild hippos that they say are attacking villagers. He said, why not relocate them? That is a great question, but there is an answer. So first of all, you're not the only person who's concerned. Animal activists are all over this, and they say that it's not right. They should not be killing these hippos. But there is no option to take them back to Africa, according to the Associated Press, because of their limited gene pool and the potential diseases that they may carry that they may have picked up while living in Colombia. Moving them would be considered unfeasible. It would also be dangerous to the population, the habitat, if they were to get moved and maybe infect some other animals out there. So it was a great question, but there is an answer for that. Now, I'm sure that there are probably other resolutions that we could be coming to. And while this story is making its rounds, I'm sure that we are going to hear a little bit more about that situation. All right, and I also got a question. Brenda J. Lamore asked, what was my experience like at the White House Correspondents' Dinner? And glad that you asked. I'll keep it brief. I was actually invited by CNN at the time. Remember, I was a college student, so, just trying to figure out where I fit in the world of journalism. They invited me, so I sat at one of their tables, and I was a very awkward college student, so I didn't even use the opportunity to network. I ate my food, which was actually pretty good. The dessert was bomb. I remember I wore a nice black gown, took my time picking it out with family. And so it was a beautiful experience. It was very fun. I believe during the time that I went, President Obama was the sitting president. And I can't remember if it was his first or his last. You would think I would know because based on the year, but I have to think about that deeper. So that's how that situation went. Again, it was very interesting for me. I'm only wondering what it would be like for President Donald Trump, because he does say that he will be attending this year's, and it would be his first time since 2015, which would mean that that was the last dinner for President Obama that I attended. See, quick math there. All right, you guys, when we come back, we're going to be checking in with our sports team. We have been watching the Phillies, we have been watching the Flyers, and I also want to talk about some of the other sports teams ahead. The Sixers have a big game tomorrow night. We'll touch base with our sports team in just a second. Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. Before we get into the sports segment, I want to take a live look at Xfinity Mobile Arena. I was getting to that time of the night where I start blurring my words together. All right, they are having an orange out. You can tell because all the orange lights are shining bright at Xfinity Mobile Arena. The Flyers are playing, and this is a really big deal because yesterday they clinched their spot in the playoffs. So Marcus Beasley is joining me. Marcus, you were the star of the show yesterday because you literally called it play-by-play for us because we couldn't see it. So what's going on tonight?
Well, I appreciate the kind words. That was crazy. I don't think I've ever been a part of a breaking news kind of story like that. So, thank you.
Not so nice.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's the regular season finale for the Flyers. They're taking on the Montreal Canadiens. It's 4-2 right now in the third period. The Flyers, actually, the goal scorers, a lot of youth in this game. You got Porter Martone scoring the first goal. You got Oliver Bonk scoring the second, Matvei Michkov the third one, and then just recent Alex Bump. A lot of these guys were draft picks within the last few years, getting some ice time, and as you can see, Flyers are doing pretty well in their regular season finale, so guess the kids are doing all right.
Okay, so it sounds like they're doing all right. We are seeing, like you said, that they're up, but we're also keeping our eyes on the Phillies. It's a different story over there.
Phillies are actually an interesting story because they started off well. Edmundo Sosa had a 3-run home run in the second inning. Aaron Nola pitched okay. He left the game with the game tied, and then to my surprise, the relief pitcher Tim Meza for the Phillies, who in his first 7 appearances for the Phillies had not allowed any runs. Unfortunately, tonight he got rocked. He allowed 4 runs. As of right now, the Phillies are, actually I just got an update. They had bases loaded, but unfortunately they were not able to get any more runs. So it is now 7-4 in the top of the 9th inning as they are losing to the Chicago Cubs right now.
I was talking to Breland a little earlier today, and she didn't seem that concerned about the Phillies, playing like this right now because she said there's so many more games that they still have ahead. Do you share that sentiment?
She is absolutely right. I mean, April is way too early to start worrying about teams. I usually, obviously because of our job, we follow the team every step of the way, every game. I really take into consideration how the team is once when the All-Star break happens. Once when we kind of know what the team's looking like, the members on the team, where they are in the standings, what scenarios we're looking at. Usually once when we start getting into late July, early August, that's when I really start taking the team into consideration as to what their future is looking like. Now, anything could happen. I mean, we've seen plenty of teams over the years have huge division leads and then fall apart at the end to where they either miss the playoffs or they don't take the division and they end up settling for a wild card and whatever. So anything can happen, but I honestly don't worry about them until we're in August.
Okay, so we got a couple of months to go.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of time.
This is helping me as I'm learning more about, how you guys do sports down here and just sports in general. So I know
this is the pure highlight. I was never really good at school, so I'm glad that I'm teaching somebody something at my age. So I appreciate helping you out with however I can with sports.
Well, thank you for this, kind sir.
Of course.
Okay, so we talked about the Flyers, we talked about the Phillies. Let's move on to the Sixers. They play tomorrow, but it's a pretty big game for them too. What's at stake?
So tomorrow is the 7-8 matchup of the play-in tournament. They will host the Orlando Magic tomorrow at 7:30, where if they win, they will get the 7th seed and they will start a whole new series with the Boston Celtics, a rivalry which has had a lot of meetings in the postseason, so that'll be interesting. If they lose tomorrow, they will then have to face the winner of the Miami Heat and the Charlotte Hornets, which as of last check, the Hornets are winning. So it would most likely they would host the Charlotte Hornets on Friday. I believe it would be here. And if they win that game, then unfortunately they would then have to start a series with Detroit, which is the best team in the East. If they were to lose on Friday, then unfortunately their season would be over, which obviously we don't want that. So we're hoping for just winning tomorrow, getting the 7th seed, and the best chance that they have at least doing something in the playoffs.
And I mean, how does Orlando Magic look? How are they doing?
They are a very physical team. They're very guard heavy when it comes to their physicality. They are going to be an issue for Tyrese Maxey. They have a lot of big men to where they can dominate, not just in the paint, but also around the arc. I've been seeing, we had Sixers practice earlier today in Camden where you would see Andre Drummond, who's supposedly the backup for Joel Embiid, shooting threes today at practice, where they are trying to expand their shooting range to hopefully make it a little difficult for the Orlando Magic. But it's going to be a very physical game. It's something that's going to be an issue for the Sixers. It should be a great game, but it is not going to be easy. And unfortunately, the Magic actually have experience when it comes to playing tournaments, so they kind of have that mindset of what's at stake, whereas the Sixers, they've either been high in the East where they've had their, second round upset, or they've just haven't even sniffed the playoffs. So it's going to be a tough one tomorrow for sure.
Okay, all eyes are for sure going to be on the game because we want to see what's going to happen and where we are seated. So thank you for walking us through all this. I'm trying to make sure that I haven't missed any of our big sports headlines. Is there anything else that's on your radar that maybe I haven't asked you about yet?
Well, this is going to surprise a lot of Philadelphia sports fans, but A.J. Brown is still an Eagle. He was still a topic. The Howie Roseman, the GM, and Nick Sirianni, the head coach, had their pre-draft availability since we're 9 days away from the NFL draft happening in Pittsburgh. So they were faced with a lot of questions where they were asking about in terms of what they're looking for, how do they their draft outlook, in which they talked about the safeties being possibly a position that has caught their eye, as well as the offensive lineman position in terms of successors for Lane Johnson. But a reporter did ask what is going on with A.J. Brown, especially since they had recently signed or gotten a deal where they traded for Dontavian Wicks from Green Bay. They have also signed Hollywood Brown. So there have been some movement. There's been some wide depth in the wide receiver room. There's also some depth in the draft room when it comes to the draft prospects for wide receivers. So he was asked about A.J. Brown's future, and he actually was pretty snarky with the media. He said, what are the odds that I'm going to tell you something different compared to what I told you guys a few months ago? Like, are you hoping for 50%? And the reporter, to his credit, said, I'm just trying to ask and just, trying to, I have to ask just because it's the latest updates of the last time we spoke to Howie, and he said A.J. Brown is still an Eagle. So to the surprise of everybody, A.J. Brown's not going anywhere. That's the big headline for Eagles fans today.
What a spicy remark, but hey, I mean, when you're tired of people asking the same question over and over again, I guess what else can you expect? But speaking of the draft, that is this week. It's out in Pittsburgh?
Next week. It's in 9 days, and it's in Pittsburgh, which we could see. I mean, with the Flyers and Penguins going on, Game 5 might be around that time, so it could be a very busy time for Philadelphians in Pittsburgh, of all places.
Yeah, Pennsylvania will be a busy, busy place. All right. Thank you for, again, walking us through all this, giving us our latest sports headlines. Now you got to get ready for the 10 o'clock, so I'm going to let you go. But you guys out there streaming with us, we've got a lot more to talk about. So you've probably heard about this, but just in case you haven't, 2 lawmakers now are stepping down amid some pretty serious allegations. We're talking more about who these people are, what they're facing, and what they plan to do next when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. Congress is getting a little heated up as we have now heard that 2 lawmakers are stepping down from their positions in their respective rights. Different states, one a Republican, one a Democrat, both facing very serious allegations. So let's start out in Texas. Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas announced his retirement from Congress, but this is amid some very serious allegations. He admitted to an affair with a staff member who later died by suicide. So he has said that he would not be seeking re-election. He is definitively calling this his retirement. The House Republican leaders, House Ethics Committee, they're calling on his departure, and they've also launched an investigation against him. So after announcing his retirement on Monday, we also learned some other information about Gonzalez. Just hours after we also heard that Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell of California will be resigning, Gonzalez went on to tell us more information about his the problems that he's facing here. He also said that he would not be providing any other details about his future plans. So we don't know what's next for him. But continuing in his seat as a representative is obviously not one of those plans. Now, Democratic California Representative Eric Swalwell is also facing some allegations. He's actually suspended his campaign for governor. Now, he's facing multiple allegations of sexual misconduct toward an employee who worked under him. That woman says that he sexually assaulted her in 2019 and 2024. She claims that she was too intoxicated to consent to any sexual conduct between the both of them during both of those incidents. Swalwell issued a statement saying, and I quote, "I am deeply sorry for mistakes and judgment I've made in my past," but he also said that he would be fighting these serious false allegations that have been made. That is a direct quote from him. At one point in time, he had been considered a top contender in the race to succeed California Governor Gavin Newsom, who reached his term limit. A lot of people are looking forward to seeing how he played out in this election, but they're not going to see that day come to be. A growing number of prominent lawmakers and other political leaders have also dropped their support for him. I want to let you know California has already decided they're going to be holding a special election in August to replace him. And this is not just a situation where he's facing heat with his own party, with Congress, but I'm also hearing that the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is officially investigating him, suggesting that this is a crime and they've accused him of rape. All right, so that's what's going on there. His accuser actually held a press conference a little earlier on today. We won't listen to the whole thing, but we can listen to part of it together. Let's go ahead.
Good morning. I am attorney Lisa Bloom. With me is my law partner Eric Fudali and my client Lana Drews. Lana will be reading a statement. Eric Fudali and I will also have statements. Lana will not be answering questions. Eric Fudali and I will be answering questions after the statements. Thank you all for coming. Lana?
Hello, everyone.
Get closer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lana Drews. In 2018, while I was living and working as a model in Beverly Hills, and I also owned a fashion software company, I had contact with Eric Swalwell on 3 separate occasions after meeting him socially. He offered me connections to further my software company, and I also had an interest in local politics. He invited me to 2 public events. I knew he was married at the time and that his wife was pregnant. He was my friend. On the 3rd occasion, I believe he drugged my drink. I only had 1 glass of wine. We were supposed to go to a political event, and he said he needed to get paperwork from his hotel room. When I arrived at his hotel room. I was already incapacitated and I couldn't move my arms or my body. He raped me and he choked me. And while he was choking me, I lost consciousness. And I thought I died. I did not consent to any sexual activity. Although I did not undergo a rape kit at the time, I disclosed the assault to the people closest to me. I also recorded these events in my handwritten calendar. The assault and its impact were later documented during my therapy sessions at a sexual assault center in Connecticut. It had a profound impact on my mental health. I self-medicated in an unhealthy way. I did not want to live anymore. I cried all the time for years. At the time, I was in a dating relationship with a boyfriend I was fully committed to. I've never cheated in my life, and I would never have engaged in a consensual sexual encounter with Eric Swalwell. That reality further underscores the non-consensual nature of what occurred. It was a politically unusual and intense time in Beverly Hills, and I was considering a run for city council, which placed me in proximity to political figures and events and added to the pressure to remain composed and silent. Eric was aware I owned a software company, and he spoke repeatedly about his ability to make introductions in Silicon Valley, referencing his political representation and influence there. I was not interested in him romantically, but I was interested in the business relationship and professional connections he offered to provide. My delay in taking action against Eric was driven by fear, not doubt. Fear of his political power, his background as an attorney, and his family law enforcement ties. I have never doubted what happened. I stand with the other women who have come forward, and I will be making a report to law enforcement shortly with my attorneys.
I think you have to switch places with Eric.
All right, so as you were listening in, that woman coming forward, telling her side of the story. As we know, this is now turned into a full-blown investigation where not only Congress wants to look into this, a subcommittee anyway, but also we heard that a local sheriff's office is also looking into these allegations. This is a very serious charge, and you know, if it is true, there will be a lot of ramifications for that lawmaker there. All right, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, there's so much more that I want to talk to you all about. For example, in addition to this, we know that another senator has come out and talked a little bit more about this case against that representative. We'll be having more on that and some more information when we come back. to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. We've been talking to you guys about a bunch of things that are happening all around town. And I want to turn your attention to New Jersey, because as we've been talking about the FIFA World Cup, how people are excited to get on down here, how there's going to be so much to do. The New Jersey transit system has been accused of jacking up their prices as we get closer and closer to the big game. So they've said that, or there have been reports that have come out that saying that World Cup train tickets using New Jersey Transit would cost $100. And a lot of people say that they are not willing to pay that. So these World Cup train tickets being reportedly sky high is just not at all what people are looking for. Meanwhile, New Jersey officials say that no final decision has been made on World Cup transit fares, despite any report that's suggesting any major price hikes. So they say that's not necessarily true. They haven't come to a conclusion or a decision, and so they're hoping that people don't keep running with that storyline. But that seems to be the latest that we have on that. Governor Mikey Sherrill says that the state is working to ensure taxpayers and those daily commuters don't have to bear the cost of transporting fans. So a very big thing that we're talking about there. Now, I want to turn your attention to an Instagram post. I talked about this a little early on in the show. I saw it a little earlier. Cheek Bear, posted this on Instagram. Sorry, like I said, it's a little hard to see. Got it pulled up on my phone. Cheeks Bear posted on Instagram that they had seen a post from Duolingo that was very similar, I'll say, to a post that they had. And actually in this, they were suggesting that Duolingo actually copied them. So take a look. What do you think? On the left side, you're taking a look at the Duolingo post. And then on the right side, you see what Cheeks Bear posted. Now, the difference between these, Cheeks Bear post came out March 9th. Duolingo's post came out just a couple of hours ago earlier today. Now, they called them out on social media. Duolingo responded almost immediately, like within the hour, saying that, you know, they were sorry. They didn't realize that this is something that happened. They would be taking that post down. This was all a public apology. And then privately, I heard that they actually told Cheeks Bear that they wanted to work with him like one-on-one, like on another project. So I wanted to know, you know, how did you guys perceive the situation? Did Duolingo do the right thing? So I asked Jake Leonard from our digital team to come on up here on the digital set.
Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so we posed this question to the people.
Yes.
What are the people saying?
So we asked them with our Go Vote, fox29.com/Go Vote, do big brands have an ethical duty to credit small artists? And so yes is at 70%, no 30%. So it seems like a lot of people are on Cheeks Bear's side and is like, Duolingo should have given him credit. And honestly, seeing this post, like, it's uncanny.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally the exact same thing. Like, I'm actually kind of like shocked. Like, I know we were talking about it, but like seeing the post, it's literally like the exact same thing. So I mean, I guess I don't know how this happened. I don't know if it slipped through the cracks. I mean, I don't know.
So, according to Duolingo, they say that one of their partners created the content. That they do say there's no excuse for sharing it without proper credit or compensation to you. And so now they're trying to move forward, and I'm assuming with trying to work with them in the future, that may mean compensation. Now, I talked to Cheeks Bear. They did not confirm or deny that.
Okay.
But, you know, that's just me speculating.
You know, I do have to give respect to Duolingo, because a lot of times you see stuff like this happen and they're like, oh, it was an accident.
Yeah, or they pretend it never happened.
Exactly. So for them to release this comment and publicly apologize, like, I gotta give them a lot of respect, because that's a pretty big thing to do. Again, in this age with AI and all of this, like, to admit your mistake and take responsibility makes me respect them more, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, just a clear shout out to the creator. While his name is Cheeks Bear, and as you can see, he posts really silly memes on Instagram. His artwork is pretty cool, but his real name is Julian Armstrong, and yeah, he does this for a living. So
yeah, that's awesome.
For the people who said no, did anybody comment about why they were saying no, or for the most part, are people just voting?
People are voting, but you know, I did see like some comments and people kind of were saying like what I just said earlier. It's, there could be sometimes similarities, and sometimes if there is a smaller creative, they might kind of take advantage of those similarities, which I could definitely see. But I feel like for the most part, usually, you know, if there's a big similarity and it's like, I'm guessing a lot of the times they kind of feel the creative is like, wait, hold on. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, but like you said, good on them for actually, you know, taking it on the chin, saying, hey, we messed up, let's make it right.
100%. Mad respect to them.
And Julian, by the way, DM'd me back, and he's actually not tripping about this anymore. I mean, of course, was upset when it first happened, but based on Duolingo's response, he says, Bill, they did do the right thing.
Good for him.
All right. So that's been our show. Jake, thank you for bringing us, you brought us some trending topics. You also brought us some responses that we're getting from social media. For those of you who are out there streaming with us, you know, don't go anywhere. The news continues at 10. I'm Judea Murray. This is Jake Leonard. You can find us on social media if you would like to. We do these questions the night, what you think, every single night. So make sure you join us again. I'm going on vacation actually.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'll see you guys in about a week and a half, but don't go anywhere. News continues.